Chapter 81, Who's Speaking Ill of Our Miss Wu? With a wave of her hand, Lin Ling called out to the entire neighborhood, Auntie Wang, Grandma Zhang, Uncle Zhao. Come here. These people are saying bad things about Miss Wu. What? Everyone running their small businesses along the street exploded at Lin Ling's words. Auntie Wang charged at them with a spatula in her hand. Who was it? Who said bad things about Miss Wu? Holding a kitchen knife, Grandma Zhang tottered toward them. Who are these people? What did they say about Miss Wu? Uncle Zhao, Auntie Zhou, Grandpa Zheng. Everyone who had been busy with their own chores ran to Lin Ling's side with various tools as weapons. They then surrounded Feng Sun. Feng Sun had been standing with Jun Linyuan and the others, but was separated from them by the crowd. Circling Feng Sun, everyone brandished their weapons and yelled at him angrily. Who are you to say such things about Miss Wu? How dare you insult Miss Wu? I see you've got some balls. Feng Sun was dumbfounded. What the heck? Had these people lost their minds? Let go of me. Stop tearing my clothes. Feng Sun was pulled this way and that by what felt like 100 pairs of hands, and he thought that his robe was going to be ripped off. Miss Wu is a great young lady. She saved my boy's life. My family would have been ruined if it wasn't for her. No one can say anything bad about Miss Wu when I'm around. Uncle Zhao glared at Feng Sun. Feng Sun was speechless. Exactly. I'd be long dead if it wasn't for Miss Wu. She's my savior. How dare you say she doesn't go anywhere apart from her bedchamber? What kind of person are you? Feng Sun was still speechless. Miss Wu went to help a patient in the next town just the other day. How can you say such things about such a kind person? Do you even have a heart at all? What an ugly personality you have under that pretty face. Feng Sun kept his silence. Seeing Feng Sun stumble back in bewilderment as the folks jabbed their fingers in his chest, Fairy Muyao patted her chest, feeling very lucky. It was a good thing she hadn't stepped out just then, or she would be the one getting attacked now. With his hands behind his back, Jun Linyuan watched what was happening, lost in his thoughts. However, he seemed to look past the crowd, his gaze fixed somewhere in the distance. Who was it? Who said unpleasant things about Miss Wu? Just then, an elderly couple hobbled toward them, one holding a rolling pin and the other a cleaver. Despite their old age, they moved rather fast. The looks on their faces were very eager. Grandpa, Grandma, Lin Ling rushed to their sides, steadying them. Xiao Ling, who's saying bad things about Miss Wu? Tell me, quickly. I'm going to kick their asses. Holding a cleaver, Grandpa Lin was panting from all the running, his voice filled with righteous indignation. Next to him, Grandma Lin was also furious. She had always been a mild old lady and had never lost her temper like this. Grabbing Lin Ling's hand, she said loudly, Xiao Ling, how can people nowadays be so ungrateful? Throwing mud at Miss Wu after all those things she has done for us. Now, tell me who the bad man is. Feng Sun was speechless. He hadn't expected things to turn out this way from a single sarcastic comment. Chapter 82, Almost in Tears. Feng Sun turned his pitiful, pleading eyes on Jun Linyuan. However, Jun Linyuan looked the other way with his hands behind his back, as if he was savoring some view in the distance. Feng Sun was almost in tears. Everyone had decided not to get involved, and pretended that he was a total stranger. When he finally broke free from the sea of people, his clothes were all crumpled beyond repair. You people are unbelievable. Feng Sun condemned his teammates. Blame your own big mouth, Fairy Muyao shrugged. Aren't you against Feng Wu yourself? How could you not take my side? Feng Sun asked indignantly. Fairy Muyao shrugged. A wise woman submits to fate, okay? Who knows what got into these commoners? They just stuck up for Feng Wu like crazy people. One wrong word and they think you're offending her. That's just insane. Feng Sun was so frustrated by how jubilant Fairy Miao looked. He waved his hand in exasperation. No. I won't put up with it. Xian Yi's taut face lit up and he blurted out. Exactly what do we know about Feng Wu? That was like a clap of thunder in everyone's ears. What was Feng Wu really like? Was she dull and joyless? Or was she enthusiastic, kind, and helpful as the folks claimed? Xian Yi went on, if it were only one or two people, we could question their credibility, but we're looking at a whole street of people here. Are we going to call all of them liars? Fairy Miao took a step forward, trying to say something, but was at a loss over what to say. Xian Yi was right, just look at all those commoners with their knives and rolling pins. They had to be telling the truth. If that's the case, Feng Wu played us. Feng Sun was so angry that his face turned livid. Come, let's go back to the Feng family manor and take her by surprise. I'd like to see the real Feng Wu. Feng Sun stormed off. The others turned to look at Jun Linyuan. After all, he was the one who called the shots, not Feng Sun. That brooding look had been on Jun Linyuan's face this entire time. However, he gave a little nod at that moment and turned to walk back toward the Feng family manor. Xian Yi was most intrigued. He never expected someone like Boss Jun to play along with Feng Sun's childish behavior. That was so strange. Back at the Feng family manor, Feng Wu gambled around the courtyard as soon as Jun Linyuan and the others left. To make up for her unfortunate encounters in Frozen Forest and to celebrate her obtaining the immortal spiritual fruit, Feng Wu prepared a feast for her beautiful mother and Feng Xiaoqi, cooking everything herself. One only had the best things to say about Feng Wu's cooking. She was a master in that area. In less than an hour, 10 dishes were laid out on the table. Today, Feng Wu opted for peppery, spicy, and appetizing Sichuan-style cuisine. Kung Pao prawns. Sliced elk meat in hot chili oil. Stir-fried vermicelli with spicy minced pork. Pork fillet with sweet and sour sauce. Seared green chili peppers. Braised radish and cured meat. Steamed beef in rice flour. She made 9 scrumptious dishes and paired them with slow-cooked ham with rice. Once the dishes were set out, the table looked so brightly lit in different shades of red that it was almost dazzling. However, her mother's and Feng Xiaoqi's eyes lit up. It was hard to imagine that someone with such fine taste like the beautiful lady was in fact a fan of hot, spicy, and savory food like this. How amazing! Just when they were about to dig into the feast. Chapter 83, Feng Wu's Denial. Suddenly, a burst of rapid footsteps came from outside. Seeing the bunch of people charge in, Feng Yiran was dumbfounded. He had been upset about Jun Linyuan's departure and was angry at Feng Wu for ruining this rare opportunity of playing up to the crown prince. Feng Yiran and Feng Lu had been about to get even with Feng Wu when the crown prince returned with the others. That was such a pleasant surprise for Feng Yiran, but before he could say anything, Feng Sun rushed into the house without stopping for a second. Jun Linyuan and Xian Yi also headed directly for the middle court without giving the brother and sister another glance. Feng Yiran and Feng Lu exchanged baffled looks. What was going on? Had Feng Wu pissed off young Lord Feng after offending Jun Linyuan? Feng Lu was as worried as she was infuriated. Clenching her fists, she said, that Feng Wu is such a troublemaker. Feng Yiran didn't make any comments, but was thinking the same thing. There was no time to complain, though. The two of them had no choice but to run after the team in a hurry. Hence, just when the family of 3 was ready to start their feast, they heard quick footsteps, and with a loud bang, the door to their courtyard was kicked open. Frightened, the beautiful lady and Feng Xiaoqi almost jumped to their feet. Feng Wu ran to her mother's and brother's sides as they blanched from the fright, and she shielded them behind her. Narrowing her eyes, she stared sharply in the direction of the noise. As a result, Feng Sun looked right into Feng Wu's eyes as soon as he stepped in. His heart skipped a beat for a second. Those eyes were so familiar. He must have seen them somewhere before. Feng Sun searched his memories, but the idea faded as quickly as it had struck him. He couldn't recall where he had seen them, however hard he tried. Feng Wu stared at the teenagers in astonishment. Shit! They came back. What the heck? Seeing Feng Sun's shocked face, Feng Wu knew that things were turning south for her. Because she had been cooking, she had long changed out of that grand outfit and was now wearing a plain dress. That exquisite phoenix hairpin was also gone, together with the full face of makeup. Barefaced, Feng Wu looked as natural as a spring breeze. She didn't look any less beautiful, and if anything, it only gave her a down-to-earth vibe that made her more attractive. Feng Sun pointed at Feng Wu. You. Look at those sharp eyes and her rolled-up sleeves. Where was that dull beauty a moment ago? Where was she? Feng Wu hadn't changed a bit after 5 years. Feng Wu. You tricked us. Feng Sun went up to Feng Wu and glared at her in an aggressive manner. His face was livid and his eyes spat fire, for he felt like he had been played for a fool. Huh? Feng Wu put on an innocent face. What trick? Feng Sun smirked. Stop pretending already. Are you telling me that you weren't acting just then? Feng Wu asked innocently, what makes you say that? You can't fool me now. Weren't you pretending to be his dull beauty? Do that again, I dare you. Feng Sun was fuming. God knew how disappointed he had been when he saw that lifeless, pedantic Feng Wu. Feng Wu, on the other hand, was never going to admit her guilt. Chapter 84, You like Boss June, just admit it. She stood her ground. I was pretending because I dressed up. That's such an ungracious accusation. Feng Sun smirked. Ungracious? I'm speechless. I can't believe that you can say such things. Feng Wu, you really are a piece of work. As she played the fool to pull Feng Sun this way and that, Feng Wu racked her brain for a way out. She never expected these people to return. Feng Xiaoqi stared eagerly at all the dishes on the table as he rubbed his empty stomach. He felt like crying. All that food was within his reach, but he wasn't allowed to eat. That had to be the greatest torture of all. Hence, in order to get on with his meal ASAP, Feng Xiaoqi said, You people were the reason my sister dressed up in the first place. All eyes were on this pretty teenager at those words. Feng Xiaoqi went on, It's the truth. You're all the crown prince's people, and his royal highness is here himself. Wasn't dressing up what my sister was supposed to do? Would any girl react any differently? That successfully shut Feng Sun up. He wanted to retort, but all words failed him. The beautiful lady was going to confess that it was her idea to get Feng Wu polished up, but seeing how angry Feng Sun was, she pursed her lips and kept her silence, deeming it not a big deal after all. However, Feng Wu found it a very big deal. Because the look Feng Sun was giving her was so strange. And there was Jun Linyuan. The guy wasn't like his usual self at all. From what she could remember, Jun Linyuan had never liked to be mentioned in connection to any girl. However, his intense gaze had been on Feng Wu the whole time ever since he stepped into the courtyard, which made Feng Wu's heart race as she felt all twitchy. Feng Wu, you're not in love with his royal highness, are you? Fairy Muyao, who had remained quiet, spoke all of a sudden. Those words struck everyone else like a thunderbolt. Whoosh! All eyes turned to Feng Wu instantly. Even Jun Linyuan was staring at Feng Wu now. Shocked by that question, Feng Wu took a step back and waved her hands. What? Of course not. I was just being polite. That was all. More excuses. Feng Sun snickered. You like Boss Jun and that was why you dressed up like that and pretended to be all gentle and virtuous. You thought you could attract Boss Jun that way, didn't you? Feng Wu could feel Jun Linyuan's gaze bore into her skin, and her cheeks burned. His gaze was sharper than a needle and hotter than fire. Feng Wu felt the hairs on the back of her neck stand up. Jun Linyuan was pissed. The guy hated it when girls showed affection, he wouldn't hesitate to take lives when he was really angry. At the thought of that 9 transformation spirit restoration pill which she hadn't had a chance to refine and her weepy mother and naive brother, Feng Wu waved her hands right away. No. You're mistaken. There's no way I'm in love with him. You've got to be kidding me. The harder you try, the more you're exposed. Now that Feng Wu was exasperated, Feng Sun calmed down. With his hands behind his back, he casually said, your explanation shows how much you want to cover it up, which means you're telling lies. Feng Wu, you're actually a pretty good storyteller. Chapter 85, No. Feng Wu said, I mean it. However, Feng Sun cut her off before she could go on. I know you like Boss Jun and dressed up to please him, but... Feng Sun stared at Feng Wu, the look in his eyes a mix of resignation and contempt. Fine, you had to dress up somehow, but put your heart into it, will you? Boss Jun hates a dull beauty more than anything else. Feng Wu wanted to cry that she knew that perfectly well, which was why she had acted that way. However, she couldn't tell them that, especially when Jun Linyuan was around. Feng Wu kept her silence in conflicted resignation. Seeing that the conversation was never ending, the beautiful lady didn't like it. She tugged at Feng Wu's sleeve when no one was looking. Feng Wu took the hint right away, her mother wanted to eat. However, she wasn't the one calling the shots here, and there was nothing she could do about it. I'm hungry. Seeing that Feng Wu wasn't responding to her request, the beautiful lady bit her pink lip and spoke in a tiny voice, sounding rather aggrieved. With their sharp ears, Feng Sun and the rest all heard her clearly, despite that tiny voice. Hence, everyone shifted their gazes to the beautiful lady, then to the dining table in unison. The spicy pungent aroma of the dishes filled the room, and smelled most appetizing. However, Feng Sun looked at the beautiful lady in the strongly flavored dishes in turn, and was bewildered. The lady's lovely face simply didn't go with dishes like these. The beautiful lady poked Feng Wu's side, then poked again. Since Feng Wu didn't respond, the lady had no choice but to step out and scan the team with her limpid, alluring eyes. She asked out of the blue, do you want to eat? Before Feng Sun could reply, Fairy Muyao snorted. You call that food? Did you just invite us to eat that? Young Master Feng, that's just an insult to the Crown Prince. Feng Yiran's stomach lurched. He cast a stern look at the lady, warning her. The beautiful lady couldn't care less what Feng Yiran thought. She was elated to see that Fairy Muyao wasn't interested in the dishes at all. Feng Wu couldn't bring herself to see her dear mother starve, and decided to leave Feng Sun and the others be. Drawing out a chair, she helped her mother sit down. Feng Xiaoqi's eyes lit up. He moved as nimbly as a spirit monkey and was by his mother's side the next second. He then pulled out a chair and sat down himself. Feng Sun was speechless. Feng Yiran didn't know what to say. Seeing the baffled looks on their faces, Feng Wu reluctantly asked out of politeness, it's just a home-cooked meal. You guys interested? Please just leave. Feng Wu knew perfectly well the kind of delicacies these young lords were used to, and she was sure that spicy food covered by chili oil like this would never suit their taste buds, especially Jun Linyuan. The guy would definitely be the first to leave. As expected, Jun Linyuan frowned and didn't disguise the contemptuous look on his impeccable face. Greasy, spicy, coarse tea, plain rice, primitive, and crude. Fairy Muyao's eyes lit up in jubilation. She knew it. Chapter 86, It's not tasty at all. Fairy Muyao kept her intense gaze on Jun Linyuan. She knew it. He was the crown prince, for Christ's sake. Growing up in the royal palace, he must have tasted all kinds of delicacies. His taste had to be impeccable. The last thing he would do was try such coarse, greasy food. That was the most preposterous idea. Fairy Muyao had been on the alert when she saw the real, lively Feng Wu, but seeing all the terrible gaffes Feng Wu was making, Fairy Muyao shook her head inwardly. Feng Wu was never going to be her match. However, Feng Sun watched as Feng Wu expertly took care of her beautiful mother and even put a pretty apron on the latter. Somehow, he was intrigued. When he saw the speed at which the beautiful lady and the goofy younger brother ate, Feng Sun was astonished. Both ate very fast, but with different styles. Feng Xiaoqi cared for nothing but stuffing the food into his mouth. His eyes sparkled as he wolfed down everything. Feng Wu's beautiful mother, on the other hand, took a different approach. She held her chopsticks elegantly, she chewed elegantly, and she even spat out bones so elegantly. But, how did she manage to fill her plate with bones and prawn heads in less than a minute? Was it that good? Feng Sun was so curious. He turned to Jun Linyuan immediately and said, "Boss Jun, you guys can go ahead if you want to. I'm gonna stay. We've been walking all the way since Frozen Forest and I'm starving." Jun Linyuan was speechless. Feng Sun didn't see Jun Linyuan's face, which had turned a shade darker. Instead, he ran happily to Feng Wu, stretched out his arms, and looked down at her. Seeing the confused look on Feng Wu's face, Feng Sun prompted her. "Put an apron on for me." Feng Wu clenched her fists where no one could see them. However, she had made the offer herself, and turning him down now would be too obvious. Hence, Feng Wu had no choice but to force herself to smile at Feng Sun, then help him with the apron. Teehee, Feng Sun sat down cheerfully, picked up a kung pao prawn with his chopsticks, and stuffed it into his mouth. He didn't actually have very high hopes for the food and had only decided to stay out of curiosity. However, as soon as he bit into that prawn Feng Sun's bright eyes lit up as if a switch had been turned on. Holy crap! Feng Sun cried out in surprise, and that was the only sound he made. He immediately picked up a second bright red prawn, so fast that one couldn't follow the movement of his hand. The beautiful lady and Feng Xiaoqi were on the alert against this competent rival. Glaring at the newcomer, they picked up their speed as well. Xian Yi was frowning and thinking about stopping Feng Sun from eating such unhealthy-looking food, but when he saw the way Feng Sun was shoving food down his throat, Xian Yi hesitated before asking, "How is it?" They seemed to be enjoying their food so much that Xian Yi, who was already hungry, felt his mouth water. "It's not good at all." Feng Sun's chopsticks moved quickly around the table, filling his mouth with food. His eyes were on the dishes the whole time and he didn't even look at Xian Yi. Chapter 87, Do you want to join us, Your Royal Highness? Xian Yi looked up at the sky, utterly speechless. Not good at all. Try saying that again when you can tear your eyes away from the table and without any food in your mouth. More importantly, Feng the Third, you would have already tricked me into eating if it didn't taste good. Xian Yi might be stiff and joyless, but he was still just a teenager. Intrigued by Feng Sun's reaction, and after recalling that he hadn't actually said anything bad about Feng Wu so far, Xian Yi went up to Feng Wu matter-of-factly and took an apron from her. Feng Wu was speechless. Xian Yi sat down next to Feng Sun without giving Feng Wu another look. Picking up a pair of chopsticks, he took a piece of elk meat from a dish filled with chili oil, and put it in his mouth. Xian Yi went stiff instantly. So spicy. So hot. Sweat covered his forehead immediately. His eyes watered and he felt like he was breathing fire through his nostrils. Feng Sun had tricked him. That was Xian Yi's first reaction. He wanted to toss the chopsticks away and leave the table right away, but after the initial sting, a sensation Xian Yi had never experienced before kept him in his seat. That was so weird. He was already in tears from the spicy dish, but he simply couldn't bring himself to ditch his chopsticks. What was going on? Xian Yi decided to look into it. He picked up a second piece, then a third, a fourth. Before he knew it, he was picking up food faster and faster. In the end, he was racing with Feng Sun. Fairy Muyao's mouth fell open. This had to be an illusion. Seeing that Jun Linyuan was standing there with a frown, Feng Sun said, "Boss Jun, if you don't like this place, feel free to leave. I promise we'll catch up with you as soon as we're done here." Jun Linyuan's face was as dark as a thunderstorm now. Dark clouds seemed to have gathered over his head and he gave off a chilly air, to the point that the temperature in the room seemed to drop. Feng Wu looked at Feng Sun and Jun Linyuan, then asked out of politeness, "Well, would you like to join us, Your Royal Highness?" Mouth filled with food, Feng Sun mumbled as he picked up another piece of meat, "Stop it, little Feng Wu. You know nothing about Boss Jun. Xian Yi and I are about the only people here that can stand your coarse food. Offering it to Boss Jun. It'd be like defiling him." Jun Linyuan was speechless. One didn't think his face could get any darker, but apparently, it could. It was practically inky black. Feng Wu said. "I see." Feng Yiran threw a dirty look at Feng Wu. "What's all this crap you've cooked? Offering them to the Crown Prince? You must have lost your mind." After that, Feng Yiran bowed at Jun Linyuan and said obsequiously, "Your Royal Highness, we do have some decent cooks here in the manor. Let me show you the main hall, where you can." Just when everyone thought that Jun Linyuan was going to leave, he pushed Feng Yiran aside, sat down at the dining table, and went on sulking. Feng Wu rubbed her nose. Why did she have the feeling that the Crown Prince was throwing a silent tantrum here, which reminded her a lot of Feng Xiaoqi in a fit of pique? No, it couldn't be. This was Jun Linyuan, a superior cultivator who could reshape the world with his rage. A person like that throwing a tantrum? She had to be imagining it. Feng Sun was surprised to see Jun Linyuan sit down as well, but he reacted soon enough and said to Jun Linyuan with a smile, "Here, this braised radish with cured meat is quite mild and will suit your taste." However, Feng Wu saw that. Chapter 88, Women with Two Faces Are the Worst. Just then Jun Linyuan rose to his feet, then walked directly toward Feng Wu. Tall and handsome, he cut an intimidating figure when he stood there and looked down at Feng Wu. They were so close that it made Feng Wu jittery. What did Jun Linyuan want? Those that were gobbling down their food now all turned toward them in unison and stared blankly at Jun Linyuan. What was he going to do to Feng Wu? However, the next second, Jun Linyuan stretched out his arms as he kept his gloomy eyes on Feng Wu, the look in them brooding and indecipherable. Feng Wu took a step back involuntarily. "What do you want?" Jun Linyuan stared at Feng Wu, his voice cold and haughty. "That." Feng Wu looked at the apron in her hand. They were handmade by her mother, but Feng Wu had designed them herself. On the scarlet-red apron was a chubby duckling, which was fluffy and adorable, and quite befitting of her beautiful mother and naive brother. Feng Sun could still pull it off, but Jun Linyuan. Feng Wu looked up at Jun Linyuan's aloof, handsome face, then back at the cute apron in her hand. Jun Linyuan wanted to wear that? What was he thinking? She could see the obvious contempt in Jun Linyuan's eyes when he looked at the apron, but he just kept staring at Feng Wu. "Fine. You asked for it. Don't blame me later." After the disclaimer, Feng Wu handed Jun Linyuan a red apron. However, Jun Linyuan didn't take it. In that same cold, arrogant voice, he gave her the order. "Put it on for me." Feng Wu gritted her teeth inwardly. Did he have no hands left or what? He couldn't just put it on himself. But Feng Wu was only bold enough to make that complaint in her head. Her biggest wish at the moment was to feed these people and get them to leave ASAP. The further away they went, the more at ease she would feel when she worked in her refinery. Hence, Feng Wu yielded right away, despite the sarcasm in her head. She forced a smile and said, "Of course, Your Royal Highness." Standing there ramrod straight, Jun Linyuan was 20 centimeters taller than Feng Wu. She had to stand on her toes to put the neck of the apron over Jun Linyuan's head. In order to save time, Feng Wu wrapped her arms around Jun Linyuan's waist to tie the apron behind his back. Jun Linyuan looked down and saw her head bumping against his chest, which reminded him of a little deer. He found it rather adorable and even had an impulse to poke her crown. Feng Sun was watching their interactions closely. From his angle, Feng Wu was throwing herself into Feng Sun's arms. Hence, he smacked his lips and said, "Little Feng Wu, stop denying that you like Boss Jun. Would you do that if you didn't like him? TCH, women with two faces are the worst." Feng Wu was speechless. Glaring at Feng Sun, she almost charged at him. What did she do to deserve such a remark? At that thought, Feng Wu rolled her eyes at Feng Sun. "I'm tying his apron. Didn't your apron need tying as well?" Feng Sun said indignantly, "But you ran around me when you did mine just then and finished it in a second. Look at you now." Chapter 89, A Spark. Feng Sun was the worst. Now that he had pointed that out, everyone in the courtyard began to give her weird looks. Embarrassed, Feng Wu let go of Jun Linyuan and stumbled back. However, there was a chair right behind her and she knocked into its leg with a crack. The sharp pain brought tears to her eyes, but that wasn't even the worst part, for after the impact, she pitched forward involuntarily. Thump! Her head bumped into Jun Linyuan's chest with a thump. To the others, she was, "Wow! Little Feng Wu, you're so throwing yourself at Boss Jun. What a two-faced woman." Feng Sun commented casually as he stuffed more meat into his mouth. Feng Wu went scarlet with vexation. She steadied herself, holding on to Jun Linyuan's well-toned waist, then took a quick step back. Jun Linyuan looked down at Feng Wu, his eyes so bright that they reminded her of twinkling stars. Feng Wu's eyes met Jun Linyuan's and there were sparks in the air. Both turned the other way despite themselves. It felt rather awkward all of a sudden. Ahem. Jun Linyuan coughed into his right hand, then went back to his seat. Cheeks puffed out from all the food in his mouth, Feng Sun watched as Jun Linyuan came back to the table. He then grumbled, "Boss Jun, she hugged you and you're just going to let it go?" Feng Wu smacked her forehead and yelled at Feng Sun, "It was really an accident." Feng Sun blinked at Feng Wu. "Accident? Ha, you sure do have a lot of accidents. I wonder." Feng Wu didn't say another word, but went to move the dishes away from Feng Sun. "I see you enjoy talking so much, why bother eating?" That vexed Feng Sun immediately. Protecting his plate with both hands, he cried out, "Don't. Please don't. All right. It was all just an accident. You didn't throw yourself at Boss Jun and you didn't create those accidents. You don't like Boss Jun. Satisfied?" Feng Wu was speechless. Somehow, what Feng Sun said only made it worse. It was completely an accident. Humph. Fairy Muyao found these gluttons incorrigible. "Grow a spine, Feng Sun. You're the young lord of Northern Feng Mansion. Aren't you supposed to have tried all the delicacies there are to try? How can you lose yourself over some crap soaked in chili oil?" Even Jun Linyuan was eating now. Hadn't he called the food unhealthy a moment ago? Feng Yiran kept his gaze on Jun Linyuan, who took a bite of some red meat, frowned, then picked up another piece. Feng Yiran then knew that Jun Linyuan wasn't going to leave any time soon. Hence, Feng Yiran announced, "Now, I see that we're all hungry. Let's eat first and we can talk later." He then took the initiative to sit right next to Jun Linyuan. Feng Yiran was ecstatic. Sitting this close to the crown prince was a one-in-a-million chance for him. People were the most relaxed over a meal, and this was the best chance for him to get to know the crown prince better. Feng Yiran was determined to make good use of this opportunity. However, when he invited Feng Lu and Fairy Muyao to sit down. Chapter 90, No. Over my dead body. Everyone that was already eating frowned at those words and they sped up. Even Jun Linyuan frowned a little. Feng Sun, Xian Yi, Feng Xiaoqi, the beautiful lady. Everyone was attacking the dishes as fast as they could. Especially the beautiful lady. Feng Wu had poured her 2 cups of water and changed her plate 3 times. However, her belly was as flat as ever, which made one wonder where all that food went. Feng Yiran watched Jun Linyuan closely. He would pick every dish Jun Linyuan chose and copy Jun Linyuan's speed as well. Feng Yiran thought that by copying everything the crown prince did, with time, the latter would definitely see his loyalty. However, the frown on Jun Linyuan's face grew darker and he was obviously irritated. After Jun Linyuan took a piece of steamed beef in rice flour, there was only 1 piece left on the plate. Jun Linyuan chewed a little faster, for he was planning to. However, as soon as he took that piece, Feng Yiran followed suit and took the last one. Jun Linyuan's face darkened right away. Feng Yiran didn't realize at all what he had done. Putting the beef in his mouth, he praised, "This beef is really good. It's rich with flavor, which lingers in your mouth. It's not like anything I've tried before." Feng Yiran narrowed his eyes as he savored the taste. Jun Linyuan moved his brooding gaze away from the half-piece of beef in Feng Yiran's bowl to the pork fillet with sweet and sour sauce a little distance away. Fairy Muyao and Feng Lu exchanged looks and both smirked. Fairy Muyao raised her chin proudly. "I can't believe you're even able to put such coarse food in your mouths. You guys are not picky at all, but I am." Feng Yiran said to Fairy Muyao, "My dear lady, these dishes may look unseemly, but there's really something special about them. Please try some." Saying that, Feng Yiran put a piece of that pork fillet on Fairy Muyao's plate. There were only 2 pieces left to begin with and one had gone to Fairy Muyao now. In order to show his love for his sister, Feng Yiran gave that last piece to Feng Lu and said cheerfully, "Dear sister, do try it. It's sweet and sour and rather palatable." Feng Yiran was so devoted to demonstrating to Jun Linyuan what a caring brother he was that he completely missed Jun Linyuan's move. The crown prince's chopsticks were halfway to the pork fillet. Jun Linyuan's face was so dark that one could practically extract ink from it. It just so happened that with Jun Linyuan around, Fairy Muyao was never going to eat something she deemed greasy and thick. Plus, she was afraid that the brown sauce would stick to her lips and teeth. Hence, she said in disdain, "I'm never going to eat it. Brother Feng, please don't force me." Feng Lu thought exactly the same way as Fairy Muyao. Hence, she put down her chopsticks and shook her head. "No. Over my dead body." Chapter 91, Good Job, Young Man. Feng Yiran was so disappointed in his sister. Had it not been for all these people here, he would have given Feng Lu a lecture, jabbing his finger in her forehead. How could she not see that this was a rare opportunity to impress the crown prince? She was so stupid. Jun Linyuan glanced at Fairy Muyao's plate, which Fairy Muyao didn't notice. But, when Jun Linyuan's glance flickered round to Feng Lu's heart raced and her cheeks flushed. Involuntarily, she played with a lock of loose hair and was too shy to look up. Feng Sun and the others devoured everything like wolves, and the 9 dishes were simply not enough. Soon, all that was left was the chili oil on the plates. "Are you really not going to eat that?" Feng Sun stared at Fairy Muyao's plate. Fairy Muyao had barely shaken her head when, with a whoosh, the pork fillet was in Feng Sun's mouth. "And you don't want it either?" Feng Sun asked Feng Lu. Feng Lu didn't know what to say. It was just a piece of meat. Why was young Lord Feng so? He was the young lord of a noble family and a prominent figure in the imperial capital. Why was he behaving like this? Yes or no? Feng Sun asked impatiently. Feng Lu finally came back to herself and shook her head right away. No. However, no sooner had she said that word when Xian Yi's chopsticks arrived, taking that piece of pork fillet. Xian Yi. Feng Sun wanted to punch the guy in the face. Xian Yi shrugged and slowly chewed on the meat, further irritating Feng Sun. Fairy Muyao couldn't take it anymore. It was just a piece of meat and this was just another meal. Why are you people like this? You won't understand. Feng Sun rolled his eyes at her impatiently. Fairy Muyao indeed didn't understand. Why did she get the feeling that Feng Sun despised her? Seeing the satiated faces around the table, Feng Wu prompted them in her head, "You're all fed now, so get moving. Don't just sit here." She still had her immortal spiritual fruit to work on. Feng Sun noticed Feng Wu's gaze and snapped, "What are you looking at?" Preoccupied with her immortal spiritual fruit juice, Feng Wu replied without thinking, "I'm waiting for you people to leave." Feng Wu shocked herself as soon as she said that. Gosh! What had she said? How could she have spoken her mind? Shit! She was practically shooing them away. Would Jun Linyuan kill her for saying that? As expected, Feng Sun was taken by surprise and so was everyone else. Feng Wu was at a loss for words. What should she do now? What could she do to make up for it? She was still a useless girl, she couldn't afford to offend these young lords yet. However, to Feng Wu's surprise, Feng Sun nodded and smiled in a suggestive manner. Tisk, tsk, tsk. Little Feng Wu, you two-faced woman. Finally, some truth from you. Feng Wu was dumbfounded. What did I say? If you don't want Boss Jun to leave, just say so. We won't understand if you say it so indirectly. Feng Sun's smile was full of innuendo and he was ready for some major gossip. Chapter 92, The Mayor. Feng Wu was crying, no, in her head and secretly begging them to leave. She really needed to start on that 9 transformation spirit restoration pill now. Hence, the look on her face was rather conflicted. Feng Sun took it as evidence that he had seen through Feng Wu and he gloated. I was right. You do have a crush on our boss Jun. You dishonest woman. Try to cover that up now. Feng Wu took a deep breath, clenched her fists, and tried her best to restrain herself. Wiping his mouth clean, Feng Sun rose to his feet, went up to Feng Wu, and patted her on the shoulder. Gosh, why are you so shy about it? Girls have crushes on Boss Jun all the time. You'd be an oddball if you didn't. Moreover, you too are Eng. Ahem. Jun Linyuan raised a fist to his mouth and cleared his throat. Feng Sun took the hint right away. He turned and darted a glance at Jun Linyuan. Very clever, Boss Jun. By not telling Feng Wu about the engagement, he had the option to marry her, but could still sign the annulment papers if he decided not to. He had the upper hand, it was brilliant. Feng Wu had no choice but to plead with Feng Sun. So, when are you guys leaving? Feng Sun glanced at the empty plates and realized that if they left now, he might never have another chance to have something this delicious again. No, he wouldn't have it. He had to think of an excuse to stay. Darting a contemptuous glance at Feng Wu, Feng Sun said, since you're begging for us to stay, we'll. Just then, footsteps came from outside. The old steward of the Feng clan arrived. After looking at Feng Wu and Feng Yuran in turn, he went up to Feng Wu in the end and whispered something in her ear. Before Feng Wu could say anything, Feng Xiaoqi cried out and jumped to his feet. What? The mayor's here. He's not making trouble for us again, is he? Feng Sun frowned. Isn't Bai Yunfei the mayor of Northern Border City? Isn't old Bai a good-tempered chap? Why would he make things difficult for you? Feng Xiaoqi rolled his eyes. Of course he's nice to you. You're a young lord. To us, he's anything but nice. He's been trying to marry my sister to that retarded son of his. Xiaoqi. Feng Wu chided. What? That displeased Feng Sun right away. Who would cook for him if little Feng Wu here was married off to some guy? Would he have to come all the way to the mayor's manor if he wanted to enjoy Feng Wu's cooking? That would be bestowing too big a favor on Bai Yunfei. Feng Wu sighed inwardly. She had thought that she could happily move on to her 9 transformation spirit restoration pill after the meal, but things just kept coming up and she couldn't do anything to stop them. Had she known that things would turn out this way, Feng Wu would never have cooked in the first place. Feng Wu waved at the steward. Let the mayor know that we're entertaining some respected guests here and this isn't a good time for him to visit. Tell him to go back. Feng Yiran frowned and cut her off. Feng Wu, you can't just send the mayor away without consulting me. Feng Wu frowned at Feng Yiran. Feng Yiran snorted. I invited the honorable mayor of Northern Border City here myself. He's paying this special visit because the crown prince is here. You can't see the man even if you wanted to on any other day. How dare you refuse him? Chapter 93. What do you think of Feng Wu? Feng Yiran left in a hurry before Feng Wu could say anything. To him, the mayor was a superior figure. Little Feng Wu. Feng Sun poked Feng Wu in the head. What? Rubbing her forehead where Feng Sun had just jabbed her with his finger, Feng Wu glared at Feng Sun with her clear, pretty eyes. Tisk, tsk, tisk, Feng Sun pursed his lips. That's so not like you. Back then, Feng Yiran used to hang on your every word. You just let him treat you like that now? You're not mad? Feng Wu rolled her eyes, irritated. Aren't you people ever going to leave? Feng Sun gloated. We were going to leave after that meal, but this is getting more and more interesting. How can we leave now? Ha ha ha. Feng Wu smacked her forehead. Turning around, she met Jun Linyuan's brooding eyes. Before she knew it, her back went stiff. For some unknown reason, despite how daring Feng Wu was, whenever Jun Linyuan turned those enigmatic eyes on her, she couldn't help but cringe a little. Seeing that Feng Wu had turned away from him, Feng Sun was bored again. He poked her with a finger, then poked her again. What? Feng Wu snapped and threw a dirty look at Feng Sun. Is it true? Bai Yunfei wants to make you his daughter-in-law? Feng Sun asked curiously. Feng Wu took a deep breath. Just then, Feng Yiran showed a smiling Mayor Bai into the courtyard. The mayor appeared to be an amiable middle-aged man. He had nice features and was smiling broadly. He seemed to give off a completely harmless air. However, Feng Sun pursed his lips. To be able to rule a city, especially one on the border like Northern Border City, Bai Yunfei had to be so much more than he appeared. As expected, Bai Yunfei went up to them and saluted Jun Linyuan deferentially. Jun Linyuan sat in the host seat with an impassive face, paying little attention to the all-smiling Mayor Bai. No one found Jun Linyuan arrogant, for he had always been like that. Mayor Bai then greeted Feng Sun. Young Lord Feng, it has been a while since we last met in the imperial capital. The last time I saw you, you were only 7. You're already a grown-up now. Feng Sun looked the mayor up and down, examining the latter closely. Mayor Bai was a little jittery at Feng Sun's searching look. Young lord, have I displeased you in some way? Feng Sun rubbed his chin and asked unhurriedly, I was told that Mayor Bai has a son. Mayor Bai's stomach lurched. His son had a condition, he had been born with cerebral palsy and his intelligence remained at the level of a 5-year-old. However, the young man's favorite was pretty girls, and he couldn't eat without one at the table. Hence, the mayor had had his eye on Feng Wu. Mayor Bai looked from Jun Linyuan to Feng Wu. Back then, the entire continent had been informed of the engagement between Jun Linyuan and Feng Wu. Later, the incident with Feng Wu also became public knowledge. Everyone knew that both the royal family and the crown prince himself had given up on Feng Wu. Mayor Bai then saw Jun Linyuan staring at Feng Wu furiously, which delighted him. He had chosen to visit today not only to ingratiate himself with the crown prince, but also to sound out Jun Linyuan's reaction, so that he could decide whether or not to force Feng Wu to marry his son later. Judging from the look on the crown prince's face, he abhorred Feng Wu. Mayor Bai smiled broadly at that thought. That's right, I do have a son. Unfortunately, he still isn't married and it's been bothering me. His well-being is my biggest concern. Feng Sun gave him a half-smile. What do you think of Feng Wu? Chapter 94, Congratulations, Sister. What do you think of Feng Wu? Everyone looked at Feng Sun in astonishment at those words. Jun Linyuan's eyes turned a few shades darker. The mayor's eyes lit up. He was here today to get confirmation from Jun Linyuan. If the crown prince didn't care about Feng Wu, he would marry the pretty girl to his retarded son right away. Feng Yiran was glad to hear it. Northern Border City was the Feng clan's last resort, for this was where the clan was initially founded. Therefore, the Feng clan had always tried to form an alliance with the mayor of the city. One of the purposes for Feng Yiran's trip here was to make friends with the mayor. Feng Yiran smiled. Xiaowu? Was young Lord Feng recommending Xiaowu to Xiaodong, the mayor's son? You know what, their names put together sound quite catchy. That's a great sign. Feng Lu had always hated Feng Wu and found the latter a threat to her. Obviously she knew about the retarded son of the mayor, and the news delighted her. Bai Liangdong, right? I've heard of him. They say that he's quite a handsome man. Why, sister, congratulations. They were going to make the marriage happen just like that. Mayor Bai had been a little concerned before coming here. After all, Feng Wu used to be engaged to Jun Linyuan, and the mayor would be in a difficult spot if the crown prince still held some resentment. Hence, the mayor had been keeping an eye on Jun Linyuan this whole time. The crown prince was as distant and unfathomable as ever. His face betrayed nothing. Feng Sun had always acted as Jun Linyuan's spokesperson. When he said that, it had to mean that Jun Linyuan didn't care at all. Mayor Bai said with a smile immediately, am I right to assume that everyone here is happy about the marriage proposal? Of course. Feng Yiran replied instantly. That's great news. No one will say no to that. Since we're all here, why don't we draw up the marriage contract now? Jun Linyuan's eyes were as black as bottomless pools. Mayor Bai laughed wholeheartedly. Aren't we rushing things a little here? Shouldn't we send a message to the imperial capital and ask the chief's opinion? The current chief of the Feng clan was Feng Huanyu, Feng Wu's eldest uncle and Feng Yiran's father. Putting an arm around Mayor Bai's shoulder, Feng Yiran smiled broadly. There's no need for that. I'm her eldest brother, which is as good as a father. I'm qualified enough to plan the marriage for her. Moreover, His Royal Highness is here today, and it will be a great honor to have His Royal Highness as a witness. Mayor Bai was over the moon at the suggestion. Feng Yiran knew him too well. He would have nothing to worry about if Jun Linyuan signed the contract as a witness. His retarded son had talked about Feng Wu non-stop ever since he laid eyes on her. If it were up to Mayor Bai, he would marry Feng Wu to his son right this moment. Great! Congratulations, sister, Feng Lu took Feng Wu's hands, unable to control her excitement. Feng Wu smirked inwardly. Did these people really think she was going to do as told? Before she could say anything, Feng Sun interjected with a snort. Wait! Chapter 95, I'll make you a deal. Yes, young Lord Feng. Mayor Bai smiled. As the matchmaker, of course young Lord Feng will be an honored guest at the wedding ceremony, ha ha ha. Feng Sun looked at Mayor Bai as if the latter was an idiot. He had thought the mayor a smart guy at first, but as it turned out, he was the biggest fool. Well, I don't think that's possible. Feng Sun curled his lips. Mayor Bai and Feng Yiran asked in unison. Young Lord Feng, are you going back to the imperial capital already? Feng Sun darted a glance at Jun Linyuan, who seemed to be as undisturbed as ever. However, anyone who knew the crown prince well enough would realize that the guy was in a terrible mood. And when the crown prince was in a terrible mood, he wanted to kill someone. Going back. Feng Sun rubbed his chin and glanced at Feng Wu. He wouldn't leave northern border city now, even if it wasn't about Feng Wu's cooking. What, then? Feng Yiran asked curiously. For a young lord like Feng Sun, he could stop the proceedings with a single sentence, but he wasn't going to do that, because he had no reason to. He wasn't going to help a proud girl without getting any reward out of it. Feng Sun gave Feng Wu a complacent look. The girl was the one in trouble now, which had nothing to do with him. Hence, he was going to sit by and watch and see if the girl could handle it as effortlessly as she would have been able to 5 years ago. However, Feng Wu grabbed Feng Sun by his hand at that moment and pulled him to one side. What are you doing? A woman of honor reasons things out instead of resorting to force. Let go of my hand. You'll ruin my virtue. Feng Sun said in a serious tone. Feng Wu stared at him as if she was looking at a mad person. She then lowered her voice and said, "Make this go away from me." Seeing that Feng Wu was asking him for help, Feng Sun heaved with joy. Raising his chin, he said arrogantly, "I'm not the one being forced into a marriage here. Who are you to me? Why should I help you?" Feng Wu said calmly, "I'll make you a deal." Feng Sun was intrigued. What deal? You like the spicy Sichuan dishes, don't you? Feng Sun said in exasperation, "Why do you say that?" I don't. I see. I'll never cook them for you again, then. Feng Sun glared at her. You can't do that. Feng Wu arched her eyebrows, rested her hands on her waist, and glared back at Feng Sun. Try me. You're such a rude girl. Feng Sun glowered. You've got such a fiery temper. A dull beauty. TSK, you were really good at acting. Feng Wu threw another dirty look at Feng Sun. There was no time to bicker with him now, so she lay her cards on the table. Fix this for me and I'll make you a whole table of Sichuan dishes. All yours and yours alone. Feng Sun's eyes lit up at that. He wiped his mouth and almost said yes. However, habit made him shook his head. 1 meal. That won't be enough. Let's make it 3. 2 and that's it. I'll take care of it myself if you won't. Feng Wu turned to leave after that. Hey, wait. Feng Sun pulled Feng Wu back, put his hands on his waist, and stepped out in a lofty manner. You two, what were you saying? Feng Yiran and Mayor Bai exchanged looks. Feng Wu and the young lord had been talking secretly in the corner just then. Was she going to try some trick again? We were talking about the marriage between Feng Wu and Bai Liangdong, Feng Lu replied with an ingratiating smile. Chapter 96, 3 words. Since when was Feng Wu going to marry Bai Liangdong? Feng Sun frowned. No one told me about that. But we only just. Before Feng Yiran could say anything else, Feng Sun stared at Mayor Bai. What? Are you going to take my woman now? Mayor Bai was surprised. His woman? What was that about? Young lord. I don't understand. Are you going to marry Miss Feng? Mayor Bai's pupils contracted and he looked anxious. Feng Yiran stared at Feng Sun. Could Feng Wu be that fortunate? Both Feng Lu and Fairy Muyao eyed Feng Wu with jealousy as well. She didn't deserve such good luck. Jun Linyuan kept his gaze on Feng Sun, the look in his eyes indecipherable. Feng Sun shuddered at the question. What the hell? Me, marry her? Are you blind or what? Mayor Bai was confused. Then. Throwing his right arm over Feng Wu's shoulder, Feng Sun raised his chin and said in smug satisfaction, "Little Feng Wu here is my personal cook and no one is taking her away from me." "Mayor Bai, did you consult me first before making her your daughter-in-law?" Mayor Bai was speechless. So was everyone else. No one had expected Feng Sun to step out, let alone take Feng Wu under his wing. Feng Yiran smiled awkwardly. "Young lord, please don't make fun of us. Feng Wu is still the fifth daughter of the Feng clan, if nothing else. She's not anyone's cook. The Feng clan and the Bai family have both agreed on the marriage, and it's settled." Feng Sun smirked. "The Feng clan has agreed. Have you asked little Feng Wu for her opinion?" "My sister will never do it. She's not marrying that retarded son of the mayor. He's a simpleton. He's handicapped. He has cerebral palsy. All he does is drool." Feng Xiaoqi cried out. Everyone fell silent. Although it was common knowledge that the mayor had a retarded son, no one talked about it. Now that Feng Xiaoqi had loudly pointed it out, they could no longer pretend. Before Feng Wu could say anything, Feng Yiran said, "Young Master Bai is a little challenged mentally, but he's a perfect young man otherwise." So, Feng Yiran knew all about Bai Liangdong's condition. Feng Yiran smiled and went on, "But, Xiao Wu is useless now. She can't cultivate, which makes her handicapped, too. All she has is that pretty face, and she's very lucky to become a member of the Bai family. Why should she refuse?" Feng Wu had yet to say anything when Feng Yiran waved his hand. "Plus, an elder brother is as good as a father. Since my uncle has passed away, I'm the one to arrange her marriage for her. Her opinion doesn't matter." Feng Wu was speechless. Feng Sun was shocked. He had no idea that the obsequious Feng Yiran could be this arrogant in front of Feng Wu. That was so off-putting. What if I'm the one with objections? Feng Sun smirked. "Young lord, please don't make fun of me," Feng Yiran smiled awkwardly. "I'm not. I object to it, and I object to it strongly. I object with my life." "There. You heard me." Dragging a chair over, Feng Sun put it right in front of Feng Yiran and sat down, crossing his legs and giving Feng Yiran a bite-me look. Mayor Bai glanced at Jun Linyuan. To him, Jun Linyuan's attitude was the one that really mattered. "Your Royal Highness, the young lord is..." Mayor Bai tried to persuade Jun Linyuan to stop Feng Sun. However, Jun Linyuan arched his thick, straight eyebrows and gave Mayor Bai a condescending and arrogant look. He then said 3 words. Chapter 97, You, Get Lost. You, get lost. A hush fell over the courtyard at Jun Linyuan's words. All eyes were on the crown prince. After all, Bai Yunfei was the respected mayor of a city like Northern Border City, which made him a high officer of the frontier. Jun Linyuan had just told him outright to scram. The smile was wiped off Bai Yunfei's face and he looked like he had been slapped. His face turned red, then green. Feng Yiran didn't see that coming either. He blanched at how blunt Jun Linyuan was. "Your Royal Highness. I thought you didn't like Feng Wu. That was why you called off the engagement, wasn't it?" Jun Linyuan rose to his feet with his right hand behind his back. He raised his chin and said, "Feng the Third." Yes, Feng Sun hurried to his side. However, Jun Linyuan wasn't talking to him. He snorted and went on. "Step out if you want to compete with him." Anyway, when it came down to it later, Feng Sun was never going to be Jun Linyuan's match. Wow! Feng Sun felt like crying. Boss Jun had stood up for him. Boss Jun treated him so well. He felt like thanking the boss with his own body. Sob, Boss Jun, eyes twinkling, Feng Sun tugged at Jun Linyuan's wide sleeve. Jun Linyuan gave him a look of distaste and drew his sleeve back. Only then did Mayor Bai and the others recall the rumor about the crown prince. To the crown prince, there were two kinds of people in this world, his people and the rest. Feng Sun was his man, hence his support. Feng Wu belonged to the other category. Therefore, Jun Linyuan didn't care if she lost the chance at a good marriage, or that she was to be reduced to a cook for Feng Sun's family. Everyone now looked at Feng Wu sympathetically. Feng Wu was speechless. Mayor Bai gave Feng Wu a commiserating glance. One word from Jun Linyuan, and Feng Wu had been reduced from a daughter of a respected family to a cook. One couldn't help but wonder what she had done to offend Jun Linyuan. Had it been from anyone else, even His Majesty himself, Mayor Bai would have still tried to work around it. However, he didn't dare utter a word now that Jun Linyuan had made the decision. He was convinced that Feng Wu would be a little cook for the rest of her life. The mayor lost all interest at that thought. He heaved a sigh for both Feng Wu and his retarded son. However, given his scheming nature, the smile was soon back on his face. Your Royal Highness, I presume that you'll be staying in northern border city for a little while? I've had the lingering garden prepared for you. Would you like to take up residence there? Jun Linyuan and the others had arrived unannounced, depriving the mayor of the opportunity to entertain them. Now that he finally had an audience with the crown prince, he wouldn't let the opportunity slip away. Feng Yiran was on the alert at that suggestion. So, the mayor was really here to rob him of the right to host the crown prince, not the marriage. Bai Yunfei wanted to play up to Jun Linyuan, but so did Feng Yiran. He had an obligation to his entire clan. At that thought, Feng Yiran also forced a smile. Your Royal Highness, the Feng Manor is a little outdated, but it's peaceful and quiet here. If your Royal Highness would like, the Feng Manor is. Mayor Bai waved his hand, cutting Feng Yiran off. No, of course not. That's so inappropriate. Young Master Feng, your manor is long neglected and in disrepair. I saw some broken roof tiles on my way in. How could His Royal Highness live in a place like this? Before anyone realized it, the merry duo were tearing at each other's throats. Chapter 98, Just Leave. Feng Yiran's mouth fell open. He couldn't believe that the same Mayor Bai who had been smiling at him only a minute ago could say such mean words. Mayor Bai cupped his fists at Jun Linyuan. Your Royal Highness, the lingering garden is the best residence we have in a remote place like northern border city. If it pleases you, please take your residence there so that I can entertain you properly. Feng Wu was delighted to hear that. Good idea. Go live there. She could start working on her 9 transformation spirit restoration pill as soon as Jun Linyuan left. Her life was so miserable as a person without cultivation. Feng Wu wanted to push Feng Sun and the others out the door herself. Before she knew it, she was doing exactly what she was thinking. She reached out to push Feng Sun. However, she realized what she was doing when her fingertips touched Feng Sun's back. She drew back her hand right away. Looking over his shoulder, Feng Sun saw Feng Wu's twinkling eyes and rejoiced. Resting his hands on his waist, Feng Sun laughed. Ha ha ha, little Feng Wu, what did you grab me for? Just say so if you don't want us to leave. You should really learn to speak your mind, you know. Feng Wu. She grabbed Feng Sun. Grabbed? She was pushing him. Pushing. Feng Wu was going to explain when she felt Jun Linyuan's intense gaze. A chill ran down her spine and the hairs on the back of her neck stood up. Feng Wu insisted, I didn't grab you. I was pushing you out the door. Feng Sun guffawed. A person as conceited as him would never believe that. You two-faced woman. I know your type too well. TSK, Tisk, Feng Sun waved his hand to silence Feng Wu, then quickly went to Jun Linyuan's side. Boss Jun, Feng Sun whispered something in his ear. Jun Linyuan had been frowning before that because of God knew what. After all, no one had ever been able to see through the crown prince. They only knew that Jun Linyuan nodded a little in the end. Yeah. Feng Sun was over the moon. Arching an eyebrow, he turned to Feng Wu. Happy now? What? Feng Wu was confused. With his hands behind his back, Feng Sun said to Mayor Bai in smug satisfaction, we're not going to that lingering garden. You can keep it for your son. So, Mayor Bai looked disappointed. We'll be living here. Feng Sun pointed around the Feng manor and said in a tone of distaste, it's old, shabby, and crowded, but my cook is here. Well, I guess we'll have to make do. Feng Yiran and Feng Lu opened their eyes wide and shook with excitement at the news. However, Feng Wu was baffled. What? They were going to stay here? No, no, no. You can't, Feng Wu cried out before she knew it. When could she begin on her 9 transformation spirit restoration pill with these people around? She could never take out the immortal spiritual fruit juice she stole from them. You've got to be kidding me. No, it's just like young Lord Feng said, our house is way too small, outdated, and skimpy. It's in no condition for honored guests like you to live in, Feng Wu shook her head repeatedly. Chapter 99, Bring her in. No. Please don't. Just leave. Right now. However, Feng Sun ignored Feng Wu completely. Shush, you dishonest woman. You're trying too hard. Don't you ever get shy? Feng Wu. You're screaming in ecstasy inside. Don't for 1 minute think you can fool me, Feng Sun mumbled. Feng Wu really wanted to scream now. Go to hell. Feng Sun darted a look at Feng Yiran. You're happy that we're staying, right? Yes. Of course. Feng Yiran nodded immediately. Wholeheartedly. Sparing no effort. Feng Sun glanced at Feng Wu again. See? That's how normal people react. You're such a hypocrite. Feng Wu was baffled. Screw you. He deserved to have the juice stolen from him, and she no longer felt any guilt over what she had done. Feng Sun dismissed what Feng Wu had to say altogether. Seeing the disappointed look on Mayor Bai's face, he snapped his fingers and said, Mayor Bai, Boss Jun has a very important task for you. Mayor Bai's face lit up. It'll be my greatest honor. As long as the Crown Prince didn't give him the cold shoulder, he would do anything. Running errands for Jun Linyuan would create opportunities to interact and make contacts. Wasn't that how relationships were built? Of course, even if the Crown Prince found him too unworthy to interact with, he could still fawn on young Lord Feng here. At that thought, Mayor Bai bowed and asked in humble reverence, how can I be of service? Feng Sun fell silent for a brief moment at that question. All eyes were already on Feng Sun. Hence, everyone saw the strange look on his face. It almost seemed like he was too embarrassed to speak. Young lord. Seeing the conflicted young lord, who ground his teeth one moment and was completely furious the next, Mayor Bai felt his stomach churn. What on earth had happened to elicit such a reaction? We need you to find a person for us. Feng Sun clenched his fists and stared at Mayor Bai. Hold on. He then darted a look at Feng Wu. Fetch me a writing brush, ink, and paper. Feng Wu smacked her forehead. Was she his servant now? Why did he order her around so casually? Moreover, her heart lurched at Feng Sun's request, for it gave her a very bad feeling, but it went as quickly as it hit her, and she couldn't put her finger on it. Feng Wu didn't move, but more than enough people were willing to do the job. Feng Lu had already dashed out. She returned in no time with all the stationery needed. With a smile on her face, she went up to Feng Sun. Young lord, here are the things you asked for. All right. Laying a sheet of rice paper on the table, Feng Sun picked up the writing brush, dipped it in the ink, took a deep breath, and closed his eyes. He looked reassured when he opened his eyes again. Whoosh! The strokes of the writing brush were heavy and soft in turn on the paper. Before long, a slim figure appeared. When her eyes landed on it, Feng Wu felt like she had been struck by a thunderbolt and she could hear the blood rushing in her ears. Feng Sun finished the sketch in 3 minutes. Then, with a wave of his hand, the ink dried. Tossing the drawing to Mayor Bai, he said through gritted teeth, "If I've guessed right, this ugly girl is right here in northern border city now. Find her and bring her in." Chapter 100, I Wonder. Feng Wu gave Feng Sun an indecipherable look. Taking that drawing, Mayor Bai examined it for a moment and said after some consideration, "I see that, she's not very good looking." Feng Sun smirked. "Not only is she ugly on the outside, she's repulsive on the inside as well. I'm going to chop her to pieces when I catch her." Picking up a random stone, Feng Sun tightened his grip, and the stone was pulverized. Seeing the crumbs drop from between Feng Sun's fingers, Feng Wu's heart lurched. Carefully rolling up the paper, Mayor Bai put it away in his sleeve, then cupped his fists at Feng Sun. "Young lord, rest assured that I will find this girl ASAP and bring her to justice." Feng Sun nodded. "It's just that," after some hesitation, Mayor Bai decided to ask a question. "I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about this young woman's crime and maybe her name? It would make my job so much easier." Feng Sun gritted his teeth. "Her name? Ha!" Feng Wu's stomach lurched. Shit! She hadn't given it much thought when she met Feng Sun and gave him the first name that came to mind, Feng Xiaowu. Feng Xiaowu and Feng Wu. The two names were so close that with a little imagination, Feng Sun would probably make the connection. No, that was not good at all. If Feng Sun found out that she was the ugly girl who tricked them and stole that immortal spiritual fruit from them, Feng Wu couldn't begin to imagine how furious Feng Sun would be. Anxiety ate at her. However, Feng Sun only snorted. Forget her name. It didn't sound like a real one in the first place. She was never going to tell us what she was really called. He went on with a smirk on his face. She stole something very important from us, she's just a despicable thief. Keep this in mind, we want her alive. I'll skin her myself. She'll wish she was dead. Seeing the serious look on Feng Sun's face, Feng Wu quietly took a step away from him. Mayor Bai couldn't help but give Jun Linyuan a glance, then gave Feng Sun a wry smile. "I'm afraid it won't be that easy, young lord. She was able to steal from you when His Royal Highness was around, she must be a very capable thief. With what she can do, I don't think Northern Border City is well equipped to apprehend her." Mayor Bai's words gave Feng Sun a very conflicted feeling. How was Feng Sun supposed to tell the mayor that the thief who stole the fruit was an ordinary girl without talent who had no cultivation whatsoever? How could he bring himself to say it? However, Mayor Bai knew none of that. Instead, he kept on asking, "What exactly is this thief's specialty? Young lord, please enlighten us." Feng Sun blushed, then blanched. All eyes were on Feng Sun, for the others were all curious about the person that could steal a treasure from them when Jun Linyuan was present. That person had to be very talented. She can't have merely been a spiritual master, can she? Was she a spiritual grandmaster? Oh my, she isn't a spiritual elder, is she? Mayor Bai looked shocked. Feng Wu furtively stuck out her neck like a little weasel and stole a glance at Feng Sun. Feng Sun didn't know what to say. He took a deep breath, then another one. His eyelids twitched. How was he supposed to tell Mayor Bai that the thief wasn't even a cultivator, let alone a spiritual master? Chapter 101, She Yelled at Me. Feng Wu kept stealing glances at Feng Sun, for she was curious to see how the guy was going to tell the truth. Feng Sun glowered at Mayor Bai impatiently. "Why are you so naggy? Just get it done." Mayor Bai glanced at Jun Linyuan again. Since the latter showed no intention of intervening, Mayor Bai had no choice but to heave a sigh and leave. Feng Sun turned his head and shot a glance at Feng Wu. We'll be staying here for a while. Happy? Feng Wu said. Not at all. Liar. Feng Wu was speechless. Feng Lu was the genuinely delighted one. Playing with a lock of her hair coyly, she looked up every now and then to steal a glance at Jun Linyuan. Instead of going to live in the lingering garden, the crown prince had chosen to live in this dilapidated Feng manor. He had to be doing it for her, right? So, His Royal Highness was. Oh God, she couldn't bring herself to say the word. Feng Lu blushed at that thought and lowered her gaze. Feng Sun found Feng Lu's behavior very confusing. What was this woman doing? She had turned red in the face and was giving Boss Jun strange looks. That was so creepy. He didn't have time to care about Feng Lu, though. Instead, he only prompted Feng Wu. Hurry up now. What? Feng Wu was confused. Feng Wu almost had a meltdown when she heard that they were going to stay. She couldn't think of anything else. Go get our rooms ready. Make our beds, and do whatever needs to be prepared. Do I have to ask? Feng Sun rolled his eyes. Feng Yiran said in a hurry, Young lord, please don't worry. The manor looks a little obsolete on the outside, but there's nothing wrong inside. As for making the beds, we have maids and servants for that. Even Feng Lu's eyelids turned pink, and she was about to volunteer in a shy voice that she could go fix Jun Linyuan's room when Feng Sun snorted. I need no one but my little cook. All of you, stay where you are. Feng Wu, do it now. With her hands on her waist, Feng Wu glowered at Feng Sun. Are you giving me orders now? I am, so what? You're my little cook. Am I wrong? Feng Sun cringed at Feng Wu's glare and he began to stutter. What are you doing? Little cook. Feng Wu smirked and took a step forward. Feng Sun stumbled back involuntarily as soon as Feng Wu moved toward him. His eyes were wide open. Don't come any closer. Feng Wu laughed grimly. You really think you can just push me around like that, don't you? Feng Sun, live wherever you want, but make your bed yourself. I'm not taking orders from you. After that, Feng Wu took her mother and brother by the hand each and stormed off. Feng Sun stood there with his mouth open as he watched Feng Wu leave. Did she just yell at me? And she left just like that? She's my cook. Xian Yi darted Feng Sun a look. She's Feng Wu. She's Feng Wu, so what? How could she yell at me? Feng Sun was hurt. Watching Feng Wu from behind, Xian Yi said approvingly, that's the real Feng Wu. She was so mean. Feng Sun wouldn't let it drop. Gesturing at Feng Wu, he complained to the others, she yelled at me. Chapter 102, The Refinery. Now. Feng Yiran smacked his forehead. He had always thought of young Lord Feng as this proud, haughty guy, but right now, the young lord was whining like a kid who had lost in a squabble. That was so childish. However, Jun Linyuan and Xian Yi didn't even frown. Clearly, the two of them were so used to Feng Sun's behavior. Feng Yiran obviously couldn't comment on that, but the look he gave Feng Wu was more contemplative now. The fact that she was useless did nothing to curb her arrogance. She was fortunate that young Lord Feng was an amiable man. If it were the crown prince. Feng Yiran felt then that it was time to teach Feng Wu a lesson as an elder brother. Feng Wu led her mother and brother out of the courtyard. Carefree and content, her beautiful mother gave Feng Wu a wave of her hand and went back to her room to take a nap, as innocent as ever and holding herself aloof from the rest of the world. Feng Xiaoqi, on the other hand, held on to Feng Wu. Sister. Yes? Feng Wu arched an eyebrow. You were awesome back there. Feng Xiaoqi gave her a thumbs up. You yelled at a young lord back there. His face was practically green. Feng Wu sighed. Too bad I didn't offend him enough to send him away. Feng Xiaoqi pouted as well. Exactly. Why do they have to stay here? Are they going to be here the next time you cook for us? Feng Xiaoqi took his food very seriously and couldn't stand the idea of having to share his every meal with those people from now on. His cheeks puffed up in frustration. Feng Wu jabbed a finger in his temple. You silly little thing. She knew perfectly well that her top priority was to make that 9 transformation spirit restoration pill so that she could resume her cultivation. She would never be taken seriously if she remained in this crippled state. At that thought, Feng Wu looked up at the sky. It was just past noon and the sun was shining brightly. After whispering something in Feng Xiaoqi's ear, she patted him on the shoulder. Do you know what to say if they ask about me? Yes. Feng Xiaoqi nodded solemnly. Once that was settled, Feng Wu did a run-up and hopped onto the wall. Then, with a push of her right hand, she jumped over the high wall and disappeared out of sight. Feng Xiaoqi clenched his fists. His sister had just told him that she would find a way to resume her cultivation after today, so he would do all he could to cover her tracks for this afternoon. Feng Wu landed lightly on the ground once she was on the other side of the wall. She stood there listening carefully for a moment. After making sure that she heard no other sounds, she smiled a little. Jun Linyuan and his people wanted to stay in the Feng Manor. Fine, suit themselves. She could go out herself. The Feng Manor wasn't the only place with a refining furnace. Old Man Ba had a much nicer refinery than hers. Old Man Ba was the best medicine refiner in northern border city. He was even well known throughout the Junhua Empire. Feng Wu was very confident in her refining skills because she was better than the famous Old Man Ba. It would be typical to assume that an eccentric medicine refiner like him would live as a recluse in some remote area, but not Old Man Ba. He lived in the most bustling area of northern border city. He lived right next door to Spring Fragrance Tower, the pleasure quarters. Every time Feng Wu came here, she had to cover her nose because of the stifling scent of all the rouge and powder the women wore. Why, you showed up in time. To the finery. Now. Old Man Ba rushed out wearing clothes made from coarse materials as soon as Feng Wu stepped in. He grabbed Feng Wu by the wrist. Chapter 103, You Won't Fool Me. Before Feng Wu could say another word, Old Man Ba said eagerly, Come here, quickly. I've been stuck at this stage for a few days, and if you hadn't shown up today, I would have gone to fetch you. Here. It was unfathomable that the old man renowned throughout the empire was taking lessons from Feng Wu. Feng Wu wanted to borrow Old Man Ba's refinery, so she was glad to help. Just when they were ready to go in, footsteps came from outside. The only other person living with Old Man Ba was an old steward, who took care of matters in his daily life. The old steward came in to report to Old Man Ba. Master, the mayor is here. Feng Wu frowned a little. Mayor Bai. Old Man Ba winced and complained to Feng Wu, Our mayor is so annoying. He keeps coming here for the pettiest reasons. Doesn't he feel like he's wasting his time and mine? He could be doing a lot of useful things with that time. Feng Wu gave him a wry smile. Old Man Ba was the epitome of the saying that people became kids again as they aged. Mayor Bai was the ruler of northern border city, and to anyone else, it would be a great honor to be visited by someone with such a prestigious status. However, Old Man Ba only wanted to give the man the cold shoulder. Feng Wu smiled. I think Mayor Bai is here for his son, right? Old Man Ba gave Feng Wu a look. You wicked little thing. Feng Wu arched an eyebrow. I'm the most law-abiding, gentle, kind, harmless, and innocent girl out there. Old Man Ba, you're slandering my reputation. Old Man Ba rolled his eyes at Feng Wu. An innocent and harmless face you've got there, all right. Anyone fooled by your appearance won't even see it coming when they die. You're the most cunning girl. Resting her hands on her waist, Feng Wu protested, I'm not. You so are. Tell me then, how did the son of the Bai family become what he is now? He wasn't this retarded to begin with. Don't tell me you had nothing to do with it. Old Man Ba snapped. That boy got carried away by his lust and made unspeakable plans which involved you. He deserved what he got, but I'm not the only medicine refiner in the empire, and there are 2 or 3 that are just as capable as I am. Can you guarantee that Mayor Bai will never go to them? A grim look flickered in Feng Wu's eyes. Her family had been banished to northern border city 5 years ago. The family of 3 consisted of her mother, the most beautiful woman in the empire, a crippled Feng Wu, and her innocent brother. They made such easy targets. Bai Liangdong showed up then, trying to coerce and bribe Feng Wu using the most unspeakable approaches. Feng Wu wanted to strangle the guy. Hence, with some secret maneuvering, Feng Wu turned Bai Liangdong into a retard. It was just that she was the only one who knew what happened. Even Old Man Ba could only speculate. Had Mayor Bai found out that she was the reason his son became retarded? Feng Wu said innocently, so what if Mayor Bai goes to them? It's none of my business. Keep acting. I'm not buying it. Old Man Ba threw Feng Wu a dirty look. Master, the old steward prompted in a small voice. Old Man Ba waved his hand in frustration. If he likes to wait that much, let him wait. Go tell him, your master is busy refining medicine, and no one is to disturb him. Chapter 104, Can she make it? Old Man Ba pulled Feng Wu toward the refinery as he spoke. Gosh, that man. I've studied that ancient pill recipe carefully, and theoretically, it's doable. But when it comes to actual practice, I ran into some issues. I put in the right portion of star demon grass and set the heat like you told me to, but something just isn't right. Come, let's talk inside. If martial arts maniacs existed on this continent, Old Man Ba would definitely qualify as a medicine maniac. Where refining medicine was concerned, everything else had to wait. The old steward smiled awkwardly as he watched his master listen attentively to Miss Feng Wu. If word got out, no one would believe that a prominent medicine refiner like Old Man Ba would be taking advice from the so-called useless Miss Wu. Even less people would believe that not only didn't Miss Feng Wu find it strange, she was also coming up with all this convoluted jargon while Old Man Ba listened attentively and nodded appreciatively. It was such a weird picture. The old steward shook his head and gave a wry smile. It seemed that Mayor Bai would be waiting for some time. What had been bothering Old Man Ba wasn't that difficult a problem. He understood all of a sudden after a brief explanation from Feng Wu. So, the octagon grass needs to be stripped first. Thank you for telling me that. Old Man Ba patted Feng Wu on her slim shoulder in excitement. How does that little head of yours know so many things? No one has ever considered stripping the octagon grass first. Feng Wu stuck out her chest proudly. She did have the most excellent and beautiful master in the whole continent, after all. Her beautiful master knew so much more than refining medicine. Enlightened, Old Man Ba was ready to put the theory into practice and finish that strengthening pill according to that ancient recipe from Feng Wu. Just then, footsteps came from outside. Master, master. It was the old steward again. Old Man Ba felt like killing someone now. Hadn't he told the steward that no one was to disturb him while he was in his refinery? Feng Wu suddenly said, the old steward knows you very well, but he's still here, which means it must be something major. Why don't you go take care of it now? Otherwise, you may be disturbed during the actual refinement, and that'll ruin everything. Old Man Ba was still reluctant to leave. His problem was finally solved. How could he leave his refinery now? The door opened and the old steward hurried in, then whispered something in Old Man Ba's ear. Old Man Ba frowned, heaved a sigh, took off the white robe which he used exclusively for his refining work, and tossed it to the old steward. He then left without another word. Feng Wu watched as Old Man Ba left, feeling rather intrigued. It seemed that the newcomer was much more important than Mayor Bai. However, she didn't have time to ponder the matter. She had convinced Old Man Ba to leave because she wanted to have the room to herself so that she could refine her 9 transformation spirit restoration pill. Thump. Feng Wu closed the door to the refinery and locked it with a big padlock. She then returned to the furnace. A translucent emerald dragon head with an open mouth sat right in the center of the lid. Orange flames were shooting out from the mouth. Following that dragon head down, she saw on the furnace 4 smaller carvings of dragons with bronze heads and white jade bodies. Each small dragon faced a different direction, and flames also surged out of their mouths. Feng Wu opened the head of the topmost dragon, revealing a square containment area that was about 50 centimeters in diameter. Chapter 105, Shit. This was Old Man Ba's most precious furnace, which he rarely used for his own refining work. However, that was the least of Feng Wu's concerns at the moment. Her top priority was to get that 9 transformation spirit restoration pill done. She had all the main and supplementary ingredients on her, all processed as required. Looking at all the materials in front of her, Feng Wu took a deep breath. Today was the day she would either sink or swim. She was going to put in everything she had gathered during the past 5 years. If she failed, she had no idea how long it would take her to get all of them again. Hence, she had to succeed. Feng Wu made a fist, then opened her eyes, the look in them never as solemn and grave as now. She first poured in demonic blood of jackdaw, one of the chief ingredients, and waited for it to boil. Then, the queen of the bighorn blood wasps was put into the furnace as a coagulator before. Her slender fingers worked methodically as she put in each ingredient in turn, so steady as if she did this every day. In fact, her life and future depended on what she was doing now. She couldn't afford any mistakes. There were 44 chief ingredients and 99 supplementary ones. The liquid in the furnace changed with each ingredient that was added. 1 begot 2, 2 begot 3. 3 begot everything. Feng Wu's smooth forehead was covered with fine sweat. However, she didn't have time to wipe it. Beads of sweat then began to roll down her pink cheeks and dampened her clothes. But Feng Wu paid no attention to that. She was completely focused on the furnace and kept her unblinking gaze on it. Feng Wu was watching what was happening in the furnace closely. Although little things would pop up here and there, her master's strict training enabled her to achieve perfection in her medicine refining test at every level, hence Feng Wu finally understood what all the care and thought was for. Even when refining a medicine that was beyond her cultivation level, she was always able to observe meticulously and create order and peace out of chaos and confusion. She went on adding the ingredients. She was on the 36th chief ingredient and had put in 80 supplementary ones already. The medicine became more complex as the process went on, making it harder to control. Just then, footsteps came from outside. Knock, knock. Knock. Someone was tapping on the door. Feng Wu furrowed her brow, interrupted by the sound. She was going to yell at the person outside when Old Man Ba spoke. Little one, open up. I have some honored guests here. Honored guests? Before Feng Wu could say anything, she heard a familiar voice. Hey! What's going on in there? What's taking you so long? Are you laying eggs or something? That voice. Feng Wu's hand jolted. It was Feng Sun. That was unquestionably that loud, goofy Feng Sun. Old Man Ba would never consider Feng Sun his honored guest. So, who was it then? Only one person qualified. Looking at the immortal spiritual fruit juice in her hand, which she was just about to pour in, Feng Wu felt as if her heart was jumping out of her mouth. Shit. Chapter 106, She's the one you're looking for. She was so doomed. Feng Wu's heart was thumping so hard that she thought it was going to jump out of her mouth. Knock, knock. Knock. They kept tapping on the door outside and Feng Sun said insistently, what's going on in there? Open up. Are you refining something now? Old Man Ba stroked his white goatee and said, I don't think so. She wasn't refining anything when I left. What's going on? Is she alright in there? Feng Sun said grumpily, Old man Ba, since the girl won't open up, leave her be. We don't really want to meet her either. We'll be on our way. Yes. Feng Wu was so excited to hear that the hand holding the porcelain bottle shook. Yes. Be on your way. Now. Feng Wu was almost in tears. However, Old man Ba didn't hear Feng Wu's silent prayer. Throwing a dirty look at Feng Sun, he said, I'm not introducing her to you. It's the crown prince I want to show her to. Feng Wu felt like crying. Introduce her to Jun Linyuan. Old man Ba might as well kill her himself. Jun Linyuan frowned, then gave a nonchalant response. Not interested. Feng Wu nodded her head repeatedly on the other side of the door. Yes. That was so true. She had never found Jun Linyuan as pleasant as he was now. However, Old man Ba chuckled. Of course you're not interested. I haven't introduced her to you yet. Wait until you see her. I'll tell you all about her and I promise, you'll be interested. Feng Wu was speechless. Just then, a puff of white smoke spewed out of the cauldron. It shot right up to the roof. Damn it! Feng Wu cried out in surprise. Her mind had wandered off just then and she wasn't paying enough attention to the medicine. The timing was a little off, thus causing the smoke to rise. Taking a deep breath, Feng Wu forced herself to calm down. She closed her eyes. When she opened them again, the look on her face was as sober as before, as if she had just taken a cold shower. Raising her hand, she dribbled the immortal spiritual fruit juice into the cauldron. Outside, they were still talking. Jun Linyuan was going to leave when Old man Ba said, You know what? She's the one you're looking for. What? Feng Wu's hand jerked and she almost dropped the entire bottle into the cauldron. Her heart was threatening to burst out of her chest. She never imagined she could ever be this nervous in her life. Luckily, she reacted quickly enough and caught the porcelain bottle just before it hit the liquid inside the cauldron. Phew, cold sweat rolled down her forehead. If she had really dropped the bottle in, it would have reacted chemically with the medicine inside. Everything that she had achieved so far would have been ruined. That old man Ba nearly gave her a heart attack. Although, she was wondering exactly what old man Ba meant by that, for she didn't think that he knew about Feng Wu and Feng Xiaowu. As expected, Jun Linyuan frowned and turned to look at old man Ba. What do you mean? Old man Ba looked back at him in bewilderment. Your Royal Highness came all the way here to northern border city for my medical advice, no? Or were you lying to me? Chapter 107, Getting Jumpier by the Minute. I wasn't. There you go, said old man Ba. I made an oath never to step out of northern border city again for the rest of my life. So, I can't go back to the imperial capital with you, but the girl inside can. The girl? Jun Linyuan frowned a little. Old man Ba raised his chin proudly. Yes, and she's amazing. You have no idea what she can do with her refining skills. I'm not boasting here, but she's as good as I am, if not better. I would go so far as to say that she's good enough to be my teacher. Jun Linyuan obviously didn't believe him. It's true. Old man Ba snapped. How can you not believe me? The girl's refining skills are unmatched in the Junwu Empire. Anyway, she's the best refiner I've ever met in my life. Feng Sun smirked. Master Ba, can you even convince yourself? I'm not lying. Old man Ba was exasperated. Dragging his old steward to his side, he stared at the latter. Tell them if I'm lying. The girl is better than I am, isn't she? She gave me instructions for that strengthening pill earlier. How can you people not believe me? The old steward nodded with a wry smile. It's true. Feng Sun snorted. I don't buy it. How can someone as awesome as that remain anonymous in northern border city, and how come we've never heard of her? And it's a she. Who on earth is this girl? I'm curious. On the other side of the door, Feng Wu's heart nearly stopped. This was insane. She was refining the 9 transformation spirit restoration pill, which was more difficult than anything she had refined before. She was working on something beyond her cultivation level while being tormented mentally. It was almost too much to handle all at once. Old Man Ba was going to blurt out Feng Wu's name, but decided against it when he recalled how unconvinced Jun Linyuan and Feng Sun were. You're curious now? Raising his chin, Old Man Ba darted a haughty look at them. Do tell. Feng Sun glared at him. Why did the old man have to make things so difficult? Ha ha ha. You're curious, aren't you? Well, I'm not telling you. You can guess all you want. Old Man Ba gloated. I promise you that the girl is a saint-level medicine refiner. As long as you can get her to the imperial capital, she'll definitely cure the person you want to save. The ranking for a medicine refiner went from junior, intermediate, senior, master, and grandmaster to saint. Old Man Ba was capable enough to establish a sect of his own, meaning that he was a grandmaster himself. However, what did he just say? Even Jun Linyuan looked a little shaken. A saint-level medicine refiner? Absolutely. Old Man Ba nodded solemnly. She's a very big fish in a very small pond here. A place like Northern Border City will never be enough for her. She's destined for somewhere as grand as the imperial capital. To be fair, Old Man Ba said what he did out of genuine concern for Feng Wu. If she were to build connections with influential people, Emperor Junwu was definitely at the very top of the list. Jun Linyuan, on the other hand, was second only to the emperor, but would eventually become the top himself. If Feng Wu could build a connection with Jun Linyuan, she would be set for the rest of her life. Hence, he was going to introduce Feng Wu to Jun Linyuan. After she saved the person Jun Linyuan wanted to save, he would owe her for as long as she lived. However, Old Man Ba didn't know about the complicated relationship between Feng Wu and Jun Linyuan. Listening to the conversation outside, Feng Wu was getting jumpier by the minute. Chapter 108, Oh No. The training she received in her former life as a secret agent came in handy at that moment. Thanks to her tough mind, Feng Wu was able to successfully add in the last chief and supplementary ingredients as cold sweat soaked her clothes. Finally, she put the lid back on the cauldron, sealing everything in. When the white smoke finally dissipated, a faint fragrance seeped out through the tiny openings on the cauldron. It smelled so nice. A look of delight flickered in Feng Wu's eyes. After refining medicine for so many years, she could tell that she stood a very good chance of successfully refining this 9 transformation spirit restoration pill. However, anything could happen at the last minute. So, she couldn't relax just yet. Outside, they were still chatting. Those people hadn't left and were standing just outside the door. That wouldn't do. Feng Wu's heart sank. How was she supposed to leave if they didn't? Was she going to have to wear a disguise again? Her eyes lit up all of a sudden. She remembered that Old Man Ba had once had an accident during a refining job, when an explosion almost burnt him to a crisp. His face had been covered in black ash so that he looked like he had just taken a charcoal bath. That time, she mentioned in passing that Old Man Ba should have an extra door in the refinery as an emergency exit. So, had Old Man Ba taken her suggestion? Feng Wu looked around the room and searched for it. From what she knew of Old Man Ba, he was always willful, which meant that the door would be placed somewhere in plain sight. So, on the other side of the door, Jun Linyuan frowned at that moment. What's wrong? Feng Sun asked curiously. Still frowning, Jun Linyuan darted a look at Feng Sun. You don't smell that? Smell what? Feng Sun was confused. Immortal spiritual fruit. Jun Linyuan gave a straightforward answer. What? Immortal spiritual fruit? Feng Sun almost jumped up and he raised his voice. The smell of immortal spiritual fruit. As in the juice of the immortal spiritual fruit. Where is it? Where? Feng Sun didn't care all that much for the juice, but it had been stolen by that ugly girl. That was to say, if they found the juice, there was a high chance that they would find Feng Xiaowu. Feng Sun followed Jun Linyuan's gaze. The guy was frowning at the closed door in front of them. Pointing at the door with a shaking finger, Feng Sun asked, "In there?" "The smell of the juice is coming from there." "Is that right?" Frowning, Jun Linyuan nodded curtly. Bang! Feng Sun kicked the door. He spared no effort and there was a loud bang. Feng Wu could hear them talking outside. Her heart raced at that moment. Was Jun Linyuan's nose even human? How could he smell it through the door? "Open up. Open up right now, Feng Xiaowu." Feng Sun's face went scarlet with rage and blue veins popped on his neck. "Ugly girl, open this fucking door." Furious, Feng Sun kicked the door again. Old man Ba watched him, open-mouthed. What was going on? Plus. Are you sure you've got the right person? That girl isn't ugly at all. Old man Ba looked at Feng Sun, bemused. No one could ever call Feng Wu ugly. If she was ugly, everyone else apart from her mother would be hideous. Old man Ba's stomach lurched as soon as he said those words. Oh, no. Chapter 109, Not Another Word. Old man Ba finally realized what he had done. He figured out almost right away that Feng Wu must have put on a disguise and ripped someone off again. In this case, Feng Sun was the victim, and he had tried to make the two parties meet just moments ago. Old man Ba felt like crying. Was the girl mad at him? Oh God, Feng Wu definitely wasn't the magnanimous type, she had to be mad. She would never instruct him in refining medicine again, no. Old man Ba only realized now how much trouble he had put Feng Wu in. The more he thought about it, the more he fretted. Meanwhile, inside the refinery, Feng Wu felt like strangling old man Ba. How could he do that to a friend, after all the help she had given him? She was going to explode. However, at that moment, the last wisp of smoke left the cauldron. It was a sign that the refinement was complete. In a normal situation, the lid should only be opened after the fragrance of the medicine completely faded. However, Feng Wu couldn't wait. She opened the cauldron right away. A pleasant scent like nothing she had smelled before gushed out. The spiritual essence was so dense. Lying at the bottom of the cauldron was a 9-transformation spirit restoration pill as white and plump as a glutinous rice ball, the sight of which almost brought tears to Feng Wu's eyes. The 9-transformation spirit restoration pill. The 9-transformation spirit restoration pill which her master had instructed her to refine. She did it. Exhilarated, Feng Wu buried her face in her palms and let the tears well up in her eyes. For the past 5 years, she had spent all her spare time gathering the ingredients for this pill and training herself to cope with the skill required to refine something beyond her level. This 9-transformation spirit restoration pill was the manifestation of all her efforts of the last 5 years. Looking at the white, plump pill, Feng Wu was so excited that her fingers wouldn't stop trembling. After she resumed her cultivation, would her master wake up? The hope was slim, but still there. As soon as Feng Wu opened the lid, the rich smell of spiritual essence filled the air. Even Feng Sun could smell it now. That's the smell of the immortal spiritual fruit. That's right. It is. Feng Sun hopped around in exasperation. Feng Wu's stomach lurched when she heard Feng Sun. Someone kicked at the door from outside again. It was accompanied by Feng Sun's furious bellow. Open up. Open up, right now. You ugly girl. For how long do you think you can run away from us? After getting no response, Feng Sun turned to Jun Linyuan and smirked. She's getting a guilty conscience and is scared. Does she think she can hide in there forever? That's ridiculous. She can try. Chuckling awkwardly, Old Man Ba asked, what did she do to you? Feng Sun snorted. What did she do? Ho ho, she did everything. She tampered with things she shouldn't have. She stole the juice of the immortal spiritual fruit which we worked so hard to obtain. That little liar. Old Man Ba coughed. That really sounded like something little Feng Wu would do. Master Ba, who is this girl, anyway? Didn't you say you were going to tell us all about her? Since she's still in there, why don't you tell us now? Feeling very confident in himself, Feng Sun smiled at Old Man Ba. Old Man Ba felt cold sweat gather on his forehead and trickle down. What could he tell them? He didn't dare say another word now. The girl inside already probably wanted to kill him herself. Chapter 110, That's definitely her. Ahem, the girl, well, it's really nothing. I don't know where she came from and we only came to know each other by chance. After discussing some medical issues, I realized that she had profound knowledge in this area. I don't know her that well, actually. Old Man Ba tried to repair the damage he had caused. Feng Sun turned to look at Mayor Bai, who had been standing at the back quietly this whole time. The mayor then quickly went up to Feng Sun. Feng Sun took a scroll out of the mayor's sleeve, which was the drawing he had made earlier today. Master Ba, please have a look. Is this the girl? Feng Sun pointed at the person in the drawing. Old Man Ba didn't recognize Feng Wu at first, but upon closer look, the corner of his eye twitched. That girl really made sure that her beautiful features were completely erased from her face. Somehow, she had managed to change herself into the most ordinary-looking girl who was no different from anyone else on the street. But Old Man Ba was never going to comment on that. All he could do now was make up for the huge mistake he had made. He nodded right away. Yes. That's right. That's definitely her. Old Man Ba and Feng Wu were each other's confidant by now and there was a tacit understanding between them. As soon as he smelled the spiritual essence, Old Man Ba knew that Feng Wu had succeeded. He then recalled the other door he had installed in the room. Who would have thought that the girl's random idea would end up helping her today? Hence, in order to repair the damage he had done, Old Man Ba began to talk to Feng Sun so that he could buy Feng Wu time and increase her chances of escape. Accidentally, Old Man Ba's eyes met Jun Lin Yuan's. The young man was staring at him with bright, narrowed eyes, as if he could see through everything. It was as if no one was able to keep any secrets from those eyes. Old Man Ba's stomach lurched. The next second, he forced himself to look away. He wouldn't give Jun Linyuan the chance to find out about his guilty conscience. However, Jun Linyuan smiled knowingly. The old man. After making sure that the person inside was the ugly girl Feng Xiaowu, Feng Sun said to Jun Linyuan in satisfaction, "It's like the saying, one will search high and low, only to find it when one least expects. I can't believe that we're going to catch the girl by sheer luck." Ha ha ha. Jun Linyuan said indifferently, "You can laugh after you've caught her. She's just behind this door and going nowhere." Wait, why is it so quiet inside? And why is the scent of the juice growing fainter? What's going on? Feng Sun frowned. Boss Jun, can I borrow your sky destroyer? Jun Linyuan tossed his formidable weapon to Feng Sun. Crack. Sky destroyer slashed down. The door made from a special material was cut open. Feng Sun charged in at the first opportunity. However, he was baffled by what he saw inside. The spacious refinery was thousands of square meters in area and was mostly empty. However, after looking around the room, Feng Wu was nowhere to be seen. Jun Linyuan and the others came in after Feng Sun. She's not here. Feng Sun searched the entire refinery and he almost wanted to dig up the floor, but Feng Wu wasn't here. He was baffled. But the cauldron is still hot, which means someone was using it just a minute ago. Plus, smell it. That's the scent of the immortal spiritual fruit. It was definitely that girl. Feng Sun smacked the table in frustration. Chapter 111, Do I Smell? The specially made white marble table top cracked under Feng Sun's palm. Jun Linyuan's grim glance brushed past Old Man Ba, making the latter shudder. Where is she? Where? Feng Sun asked. Rubbing his nose, Old Man Ba feigned a confused look. Ahem, where could she be? She was right here. Following Old Man Ba's darting eyes, Jun Linyuan walked in one direction. The look on Old Man Ba's face changed all of a sudden. Jun Linyuan smiled knowingly. He reached out and revealed a hidden passageway. Why, how could I have forgotten about that exit? Old Man Ba smacked his forehead, as if it had only just occurred to him. The girl is really smart. I didn't think she could find that well-hidden door. How cunning of her. Feng Sun had no time for this. He bent down and went out through the waist-high door. At the same time, Feng Wuda was running as fast as she could. As soon as she took the 9 transformation spirit restoration pill out of the cauldron, she stuffed it into her mouth, ignoring the scorching heat. Fearing that they would confiscate the pill if they caught her, Feng Wu put the hard-earned pill in her mouth, gave it a chew, and swallowed it. Only after that did she feel reassured. Starting from this moment on, she was finally back on track with her cultivation. She could finally activate that divine blood of the phoenix from her master and become that genius teenage girl again. But, her top priority now was to run. She wasn't even a level 1 spiritual master yet and she couldn't let Feng Sun and the others catch her. Otherwise, Feng Wu couldn't begin to imagine what would happen to her. After leaving the refinery through the small door, instead of running into the main street, Feng Wu made her way into the adjacent Spring Fragrance Tower. Because it was daytime, most of the girls there were still in bed. Inside the luxurious building, everything was nice and quiet. Feng Wu chose her hiding place well. She hid herself in the attic and in a spot where she could see the small door through the window. As soon as Feng Wu hid herself, she saw Feng Sun come out through that door. That was close. She didn't expect him to find that door so quickly. Feng Sun looked this way and that, then chose a direction and dashed off. Feng Wu patted her chest. Luckily, Feng Sun was on the wrong track, or she would be in real trouble. That 9 transformation spirit restoration pill was in her dantian now, but she didn't dare work on it now. She didn't even dare make any sudden movements, for Jun Linyuan had such a sharp nose. He seemed to be able to pick up the faintest scent. As Feng Wu pondered that problem, suddenly she farted, loudly. It went on, and never seemed to end. Feng Wu's face turned green. Farting wasn't a big issue, but, with it came the scent particular to the 9 transformation spirit restoration pill, aka the scent of the immortal spiritual fruit. Feng Wu dashed out of the attic without hesitation. She had been exposed and she couldn't stay there. As expected, Jun Linyuan, Feng Sun and the others, who had been pursuing Feng Wu in the other direction, halted all of a sudden. Do I smell? Feng Sun turned to Jun Linyuan. Jun Linyuan nodded. Yes. Shit. That ugly girl has consumed the immortal spiritual fruit. Damn her. Feng Sun's eyes widened in fury. We can't let her escape. Let's go, while the smell still lingers. Chapter 112, Feng Sun's face turned green. Taking a few sniffs, Feng Sun turned around and charged in the direction of Spring Fragrance Tower. Feng Wu had chosen Spring Fragrance Tower in the first place not only because of how close it was, but also for the strong smell of rouge and powder. Even if it couldn't completely disguise her scent, it would still work as a wonderful cover. However, when she looked over her shoulder and saw Feng Sun headed directly for Spring Fragrance Tower, she knew she had no time to leave the building. Her only choice was to run into the first room she could find. At the same moment, Feng Sun burst into Spring Fragrance Tower. Jun Linyuan, Xian Yi, and the others, on the other hand, stood at the doorway and watched. Feng Xiaowu, get down here. Without another thought, Feng Sun ran into the main hall, stood on the stairs, and began to shout in every direction. It wasn't that he didn't want to drag Feng Xiaowu out, but the entire building was filled with the strange scent of the spiritual essence, and he couldn't tell where Feng Xiaowu was. Instead of finding Feng Wu, his loud voice woke up all the girls in the building. Who's yelling? Do you not know what place this is? Spring Fragrance Tower doesn't open for business until after dark. A bare-shouldered gorgeous woman stuck her head out from a window upstairs and shouted at Feng Sun. The first floor of Spring Fragrance Tower consisted of just a spacious hall with a curved staircase in the middle, and all the rooms were on the upper floors. After the gorgeous woman bellowed in frustration, her sleepy eyes suddenly opened wide and her face lit up. Immediately after that, she cried out, "Oh my God! The cutest guy is here in the main hall. Girls, get up." Someone mumbled in the room next door, "Shuv, Sister Chun, I'm trying to sleep here." Sleep later. You don't find such a good-looking guy every day. Get your titties ready. The people of Northern Border City were indeed as tough as they were said to be, and the Madam of Spring Fragrance Tower was no exception. That successfully frightened Feng Sun. Sister Chun's words carried weight. Shortly afterward, girls began to show up at different windows, still half asleep. Why, Sister Chun was right. He's cute as a button. Look, he's blushing. Young men are indeed so energetic. It's my turn to have a good time. Feng Sun heard every single word. He didn't know what to say. He wanted to leave, but realized immediately that the ugly girl was still at large. Straightening his face, he said, "I know where you are. Are you going to come out yourself or do I have to drag you out?" The only reply he received were the ladies' jeers. Feng Sun was furious. Fine. Suit yourself. Do you think you're safe hiding in here? Do you think I'll just stand here? Well, I'll show you what I can do. He quickly ran up the stairs after that. He pushed the first door on the second floor open. "Young man, are you here for me?" "Well, I like fresh young faces like yours the most." After that, Sister Li Hong threw herself at him. Feng Sun's face turned green. At the same moment, Feng Wu realized that she couldn't stay here any longer. Jumping out of the window, she did a nimble backflip with her legs hooked over the upper bar of the window, and leapt onto the roof. Hopping deftly from one roof to another, she landed in the back alley of Spring Fragrance Tower. Then, climbing up onto another wall, she jumped into the neighboring courtyard. Chapter 113, Would it kill her to wait? Feng Sun pushed the sister away, then scanned the room with his eyes. No one else was there, so he promptly left. He kicked open the next door down the corridor. Before the girl in the room could say anything, Feng Sun bellowed, "Stay where you are and don't move." He left the room in disappointment after a thorough search. He went on to the next one, and the next one. After turning the entire place upside down, the smell of the immortal spiritual fruit juice was mostly gone, but Feng Sun still couldn't find Feng Wu anywhere. How could that be? They had sensed her presence only a moment ago. Feng Sun frowned. It was only then that he realized something wasn't right. Rushing out to the main hall, Feng Sun called out to Jun Linyuan. "Boss Jun." "She's not here." "I see." Jun Linyuan nodded calmly. "What now?" Feng Sun scratched his ear anxiously and jumped around like a monkey. "We let her slip through our fingers." "Does that F in her surname stand for flea?" Jun Linyuan narrowed his eyes, the look in them indecipherable. He then gave a one-word reply. "Wait." "Wait?" Feng Sun, who had an impatient disposition, was almost jumping in place. "But we can't afford to wait. The scent of the fruit will only get fainter, and we're surrounded by busy streets. She can easily hide herself in the crowd and disappear. It'll be much harder to find her again." Jun Linyuan only shook his head, looking undisturbed. We won't lose her. Boss Jun, you mean? Jun Linyuan didn't say anything, but Xianyi replied, we're not waiting for the girl to come to us, but for her to release the scent. Feng Sun smacked his forehead, looking enlightened. I see. She took that juice, and before she can digest it completely, her body will keep releasing waste gas, and that gas will smell like immortal spiritual fruit. Ha ha ha. You're right. Let's wait for her to fart again. Jun Linyuan didn't say anything. How long do we have to wait? Feng Sun couldn't stand still. He had always been one to hurry, and had never felt as anxious as he did now. There. Jun Linyuan spoke all of a sudden. Feng Sun's nose was obviously not as sharp as Jun Linyuan's, but with that prompt, Feng Sun sniffed around and detected the change in the air. That's right. It's indeed the smell of the fruit. It's coming from the northeast. Let's go. He then dashed off at the speed of light and was soon out of sight. Xianyi ran in the other direction in order to outflank Feng Wu. I'm going with him. Jun Linyuan watched as Feng Sun and Xianyi left, his eyes flickering a little from the excitement. However, instead of hurrying off after those two, he strolled around as if he was taking a walk. It seemed that he was confident of his victory. Right now, Feng Wu's face had practically turned green. She really didn't know. She had no idea that the 9 transformation spirit restoration pill came with the side effect of farting. Had she known, she would never have eaten it. Would it have killed her to wait? She might as well be running around with a billboard saying, I'm here, on her head. Feng Wu had jumped into a city councilor's manor upon leaving Spring Fragrance Tower. After taking a detour through there, she thought she had completely thrown Feng Sun off, then she farted. She knew there and then that she was doomed, there was no hope left. She could probably think of a way out if it was Feng Sun alone, but that diabolical Jun Linyuan was with him. Was this a heavenly trial or something? Feng Wu really felt like crying now. Chapter 114, What do I need you here for? Turning around, she saw Feng Sun hurrying this way along the edge of the roof. He was heading in her direction without any hesitation, which meant that he had discovered her whereabouts. Feng Wu panicked. Time was of the essence here and it made her move. After running across the manor's garden, she jumped on the walls across several streets before landing in an alley. No, she couldn't go on like this. They would be on her in no time. She had to come up with a plan. The best quality Feng Wu had was that she was able to keep a cool head in the most pressing situations. Looking around, she spotted a young beggar sitting against a wall. An idea struck her. She began to put on a disguise again. Changing into coarse clothes and smearing dirt all over her face, she turned herself into a filthy little beggar in a matter of minutes. She hoped that the stinky beggar clothes would cover the smell of the immortal spiritual fruit. Standing in a busy street, Feng Sun tried his best to sniff the air. However, the smell was too faint to detect now. Feng Sun frowned and looked anxious. As a matter of fact, Feng Wu was sitting in a corner against a wall less than 10 meters away from him. Her hair all tangled and her face dirty, she sat there cross-legged on the ground basking in the sun with a cracked bowl in front of her. She looked exactly like what a beggar was supposed to look like. Lowering her eyelids, she would steal glances at the frowning Feng Sun, feeling both nervous and excited. She had barely sat down when Feng Sun arrived, which was frighteningly fast. He would have caught her already if she wasn't in disguise. Feng Sun didn't even look at the little beggar in the corner. As he looked around, the frown on his face grew bigger. Just then another person arrived. Have you found her? Xianyi asked with a frown. Feng Sun looked pissed. I came here directly, following that smell. I should have caught her by now, but I can't smell anything. Xianyi's eyebrows were tightly knitted together. I came from the other side. I thought that if the girl got away, I could outflank her, but I didn't see anyone. Where's Boss Jun? Feng Sun asked. There. Xianyi gestured at the figure strolling toward them. Feng Sun snapped, Boss Jun, aren't you even a little bit worried? We would have caught her by now if you came with us. Jun Li Yuan's black robe fluttered despite the fact that there was no wind. His face looked stunning. Standing erect with his hands behind his back, he shook his head casually. I'm not going to. But why? Feng Sun was exasperated. Jun Lin Yuan darted Feng Sun a look with his bright eyes. If you need me to catch a useless girl with zero cultivation, what do I need you here for? Feng Sun didn't know what to say to that. He couldn't believe that after having been tricked by the useless girl once, he let it happen again. It seemed that she was getting away from him as they spoke. Feng Sun had never felt this humiliated in his life. Fine. I know Boss Jun is trying to make it a fair game here. I can't believe what's happening. Xianyi and I are definitely going to catch that girl. Feng Sun's eyes darted around and he finally spotted the little beggar this time. He headed right that way at lightning speed and grabbed Feng Wu when he drew close. I know what to do. Feng Wu panicked. She was going to spring up and run, but before she could do so, Feng Sun caught her by her wrist. Chapter 115, she really hated to trick Feng Sun again, but... Looking at her wrist, Feng Wu almost burst into tears. She had been in such a hurry that she only had time to put makeup on her face. As a result, she was still fair-skinned from her wrists down. Luckily, Feng Sun only grabbed her sleeve for a second before throwing off her hand. Gosh, that's filthy. Feng Wu heaved a sigh of relief inwardly. It didn't seem that Feng Sun had recognized her. Indeed, he hadn't. Staring at Feng Wu, Feng Sun asked, Hey, I need to ask you something. I want only honest answers. Feng Wu the little beggar looked up at Feng Sun with a frightened look on her face, wishing that she could grow wings and fly away from him. See these gold coins? You can buy a lot of steamed buns with them. Tossing a handful of gold coins into Feng Wu's lap, Feng Sun asked in a cajoling tone, ready to answer my questions. Feng Wu didn't make a sound. Holding the gold coins in her hands, she grinned like a little miser, for all beggars should look like that when hit with a bunch of gold coins. Glaring at the little beggar, Feng Sun asked, Have you been sitting here the whole time? Feng Wu the little beggar nodded. Feng Sun immediately took out the portrait he drew for Mayor Bai and showed it to the little beggar. Have a look. Did you see this person pass by? Under all the dirt and makeup, Feng Wu's cheek twitched a little when she saw the drawing. Had she seen the person? Of course she had. The person is standing right in front of you, young Lord Feng. The only thing Feng Wu could think of at that moment was that if Feng Sun found out about this one day, that this little beggar here was the Feng Xiaowu he was looking for, she seriously thought that Feng Sun would strangle her himself. She hated to trick Feng Sun again, but why did he keep jumping into her traps? Sigh. Taking a deep breath, Feng Wu looked at Feng Sun with her clear big eyes. Ah. As she made all the strange sounds, she pointed at her throat, indicating that she was a mute. Feng Sun said impatiently, I see you can't speak, but you're not blind, are you? Just tell me if you've seen this person. Feng Wu rolled her eyes in her head. Since Feng Sun was asking for it, she would gladly push him into her trap. She nodded, then pointed in the direction of the most boisterous street in the city. Feng Sun turned around and said to Xianyi, See. I found the right person. Beggars see everything. He then dragged Xianyi toward the main street. Jun Lin Yuan went last. Before he left, he took a long look at Feng Wu. That gave Feng Wu the creeps. Jun Lin Yuan couldn't have seen through her disguise, could he? No, that couldn't be the case. Why would Jun Lin Yuan keep it from Feng Sun if he had noticed something? She must be overthinking it. After Feng Sun and the others left, Feng Wu ran in the opposite direction. A short distance away stood Grandma Zhang's house. Feng Wu slunk into the courtyard, changed into clean clothes, and was back to the old Feng Wu. She farted again. Feng Wu almost burst into tears. This was happening way too often. She was releasing gas every 5 minutes and she had no control over it. Why wouldn't it stop? She couldn't even go back home like this, let alone cultivate that with a long face. Feng Wu heaved a sigh. She had to be the most unlucky person in the city. She couldn't stay here either. Fortunately, Feng Wu knew these alleys very well. Moreover, the neighbors here had a habit of keeping their doors open. Hence, Feng Wu was able to sneak into one household after another without attracting any attention. Chapter 116, This is Awkward. Feng Sun and Xian Yi headed for the main street, but they soon realized that they were on the wrong track. Wait, that doesn't smell right, Xian Yi frowned. Feng Sun was also frowning. Why do I feel that? It's coming from behind us. Did that little beggar lie to me? They exchanged looks and ran back the way they came. There was no one at that corner under the wall and the little beggar was nowhere to be found. The cracked bowl was still there with a few gold coins left behind. A real beggar would never have left without their bowl and the money. Feng Sun's face turned green when he saw that and he yelled, "What the hell? What's going on here?" Xian Yi didn't look any better, for he had realized something terrible. While the two of them were still standing there, dazed, a girl walked past them. Feng Sun recognized her. It was Lin Ling, the same girl that had given him a hard time. Although Feng Sun had yet to recover from the toughness of this young lady of northern border city, he had no time for personal misgivings. Rushing to Lin Ling's side, he grabbed her by the arm, which made Lin Ling jump. Before Lin Ling could berate him, Feng Sun asked loudly, "Where is the little beggar here? Where did he go?" Lin Ling gave Feng Sun a, "You idiot," look. "Little beggar. You must be seeing things. I walk past here every day dozens of times to deliver wontons, I've never seen any beggar here." Feng Sun's pupils contracted. He was too furious to speak. Lin Ling gave him another curious look. "Don't you know? Mayor Bai won't have the beggars affecting the appearance of the city, and all the beggars in the city have been relocated to another street." Feng Sun and Xian Yi exchanged looks and saw the fury in each other's eyes. It was her. It had to be. It was that ugly girl. Feng Sun roared. "I let her slip right through my fingers. And you know what? I actually caught her. Not only did I catch her, I even asked her for directions. I'm an idiot." Feng Sun smacked his forehead as he spoke. No one could understand how defeated he felt at that moment. Xian Yi darted a sympathetic look at Feng Sun. Although Xian Yi had been tricked as well, overall, his experience wasn't as miserable as Feng Sun's. "Stop whining. You're only wasting time here. Let's get moving. She can't get away from us like that again." Xian Yi dashed off, dragging Feng Sun with him. It was a hard blow for Feng Sun and he was so frustrated that he felt a throbbing pain in his chest. Clenching his fists, he made an oath to himself that when he caught the ugly girl, he was going to hang her up by both wrists. Right now, Feng Wu had just run out of the alley where Uncle Zhao's house was and even greeted Xiaobao, Uncle Zhao's son, on the way. She had just reached the main street when thud a peach kernel hit her on the head. That hurt. Rubbing the spot on her forehead, Feng Wu turned around angrily. As if one Feng Sun wasn't enough, someone else was giving her trouble now. Her eyes popped out when she saw the culprit. It was neither Feng Sun nor Xian Yi, and not even Jun Linyuan. Sitting on top of the high wall was Yuminji, whose life had become very miserable because of her. Feng Wu felt like she had just been hit by a thunderbolt. Chapter 117, Girl, come here. With Yu Minji blocking her way and Jun Linyuan pursuing her, was everyone she had ever pissed off onto her now? This was. Hey, girl, why are you standing so far away? Come here, Yu Minji waved at Feng Wu. Wait. Feng Wu's eyes lit up. From the sound of it, Yu Minji didn't recognize her. That was right. Back in Frozen Forest, she had been wearing the ugly girl disguise. That was why Yu Minji couldn't recognize her now. If that was the case, with her hands behind her back, Feng Wu slowly walked toward Yu Minji, looked up, and asked in a self-righteous tone, "Who are you and why did you stop me?" Rather than recoil in fear, Feng Wu chose to interrogate the guy loudly, for she had been told once that attack was the best defense. Hence, that was what she was going to do, attack. Yu Minji stared at Feng Wu. To be honest, this was a really pretty girl. She had pink lips, white teeth, smooth skin, and exquisite features. It seemed that God had blessed her with everything pleasant. When she put her hands behind her back and lifted her little face like that, she looked so stunning that he couldn't bring himself to look away. Yu Minji was all about good looks and he enjoyed nothing more than savoring a beautiful face. As soon as their eyes met, he blushed and went into a trance-like state. Feng Wu waved a hand in front of his face and grinned. Hey, wake up. Are you dazed? Am I that pretty? As defiant and rebellious as Yu Minji was, he had never met such a brazen girl. The questions she asked successfully bewildered Yu Minji, who had been thinking about flirting with her. Seeing how abashed Yu Minji was, Feng Wu cheered inwardly. That worked really well. So, she would proceed from there. Hey, I'm talking to you. Wakey wakey. Feng Wu could look very obnoxious when she put on a gloating face. Cough, cough, choking on his own spit, Yu Minji had a coughing fit. Glowering at Feng Wu in exasperation, he said, "Are you kidding me? Me, like you? Who do you think you are? What kind of girl are you, anyway? Don't you feel ashamed for saying that?" As expected, Yu Minji was a very bashful teenager. He became very awkward after she asked those questions. Feng Wu straightened her back. "I know I'm very pretty. Speaking of which, didn't you fall in love with me at first sight?" No. Yu Minji never expected to hear such shameless words from a girl he had only met for the first time. That really wasn't attractive at all. Despite the delight she felt inside, Feng Wu kept her face very straight. With her hands behind her back, she said unhurriedly, "Well, if you don't like me, I'm off." She needed to disappear, now. That was what Feng Wu was really thinking. Luckily, Yu Minji was such a gullible teenager that she could fool him without breaking a sweat. All she hoped for now was that he wouldn't chase her afterward like Jun Linyuan was doing. Wait. Just then, Yu Minji stopped Feng Wu. Feng Wu's heart sank. What did the enchanting teenager want now? Feng Sun was gaining on her and she was in a hurry to find a hiding place. However, she had no choice but to stop, turn around, and look at Yu Minji with her bright black eyes. Chapter 118, Utterly Flustered. Jumping off the tall wall, Yu Minji landed on the ground and looked down at Feng Wu. He stressed earnestly, "I'll never fall in love with you." "Forget it." Feng Wu nodded without objection. "Alright, I see. I've already forgotten about it. May I go now?" He didn't like her. Great. After he had made such a solemn declaration, Yu Minji was vexed to see Feng Wu reply so perfunctorily. How could she stay so calm? Other girls always looked heartbroken when he turned them down. He was such an excellent specimen of a human being that the girl couldn't possibly not like him. She had to be playing hard to get. Taking a deep breath, he pointed a finger at Feng Wu and stressed angrily, "I have someone I like already. So, stop flattering yourself." Feng Wu nodded immediately. "I see. I won't. So, anything else? Can you please say everything in one go?" Feng Sun was on her heels and she was really in a hurry. That successfully baffled Yu Minji again. Was she that eager to leave? Was he that repulsive? That was so frustrating. Yu Minji smirked. The girl I like is much prettier than you. I like you. In your dreams. Somehow, Yu Minji just didn't want to let the girl leave. He wanted to talk to her. He had hit Feng Wu's head with a peach kernel just then because from behind, he thought that she looked like the ugly girl that had tricked him in Frozen Forest. Now that they were standing this close to each other, Yu Minji felt that her aura reminded him of that ugly girl as well. As a matter of fact, if her face was covered, Yu Minji might mistaken her for the ugly girl. Yu Minji was so angry when the ugly girl came to his mind. That girl made him miserable. Fine, fine, she's prettier than me. Wait, prettier than me? There's a prettier girl than me here in Northern Border City? That's impossible. Who is she? Can I meet her? Feng Wu's eyes lit up. Growing up, the only people that Feng Wu considered better looking than herself were her mother and her master. Humph. Yu Minji snorted complacently. Why should I let you see her? Anyway, she's super gorgeous and you'll only find yourself unseemly if you two meet. Therefore, forget it. She's my one and only goddess. Feng Wu was so intrigued to find out what Yu Minji's goddess looked like. Wow. Really? There really is a girl prettier than I am? Who is she and how did you two meet? Where is she now? Are you sure I can't see her? If I'm doomed to be defeated, the least you can do is convince me. Feng Wu was genuinely curious now. Yu Minji arched his straight eyebrows. How did we meet? Well, I met her only a few days ago in Frozen Forest. Not only was she brilliant, she was also kind, innocent, and gentle. And she looked. Well, you're nothing compared with her. A few days ago. Frozen Forest. Feng Wu's eyes widened as her mouth fell open. What? You don't believe me? Yu Minji darted a look at Feng Wu. Feng Wu shook her head. No, I don't. Never. Look, she gave me these as a token of her love. Yu Minji took out 2 white porcelain bottles and waved them in Feng Wu's face. Feng Wu was utterly flustered. Chapter 119, I'm Feng Wu, as in, Soaring Phoenix. Weren't those the white porcelain bottles she threw at Yu Minji when she set him up? She was the reason that his feet bled and his eyes turned red and swollen. And what did he just call those bottles? A token of love? Was Yu Minji out of his mind? Aren't those the most common white porcelain bottles which you can find everywhere? Feng Wu's voice was so tiny that she could barely hear it herself. She really didn't know how to describe her feelings at the moment. She was aware of Yu Minji's goofiness, but she never realized that he could be this silly. Yu Minji threw a dirty look at Feng Wu, then announced proudly, how can you call them common? Are you blind? These are definitely a token of love. They say that good things always come in pairs, that's why she gave me 2. Just keep lying to yourself, Yu Minji, Feng Wu thought in resignation. The look Feng Wu gave Yu Minji now was very hard to describe. It was a mix of embarrassment, bewilderment, and confusion. But more than anything, she pitied him for his scant intelligence. Had she somehow damaged Yu Minji's head back there in Frozen Forest? Did he even realize what he was saying? There was nothing attractive about the disguise she had worn in Frozen Forest. Plus, she had set him up, poisoned him, and nearly drove him to a mental breakdown, yet, the teenager had just told her. He had just called Feng Xiaowu pretty, kind, and a goddess. And those bottles had become a token of love? Holy shit. Blue veins popped on Feng Wu's forehead, the world or Yu Minji, one of them had to have gone insane. Seeing that Feng Wu was trembling, Yu Minji looked at her curiously and asked in bewilderment, why are you shaking? Are you cold? Ha, ha, ha. I am. It's freezing. Cold sweat covered her body and Feng Wu felt so awkward. With no idea that the irresistibly pretty girl in front of him was the ugly girl he was looking for, Yuminji went on talking. Given how proud he was, he couldn't stop bragging. My girl is pretty, gentle, and kind. She's nothing like you, all sharp-tongued and obnoxious. So, stop wasting your time. I'm never going to fall in love with you. Feng Wu rubbed her forehead. She might have actually been fooled by Yuminji, had it not been for the fact that she was the girl in question. If Yuminji found out the truth about Feng Xiaowu later, would he kill her when he remembered what he said today? Somehow, she was seriously considering the possibility of being killed. Feng Wu looked up at the sky in silence. So, can I go now? Feng Wu asked. She couldn't fight back her laughter much longer and she feared that she might crack up at any moment. It was impossible to stop herself from giggling over what Yuminji had been saying about her. Glaring at Feng Wu, Yuminji was going to let her leave, but after some thought, he still asked, Hey, sharp-tongued girl, what's your name? Why do you want that now? Feng Wu asked impatiently. Are you going to get back at me later? I just want to know the name of the girl with a bigger ego than me. Yuminji rolled his eyes. Since she wasn't wearing a disguise, Feng Wu found it unnecessary to hold back that piece of information. Plus, she couldn't bring herself to lie to the poor boy anymore. She answered without hesitation, I'm Feng Wu, as in, Soaring Phoenix. Chapter 120, Just Leave Me Alone. Yuminji's eyes widened. Feng Wu. As in that useless Feng Wu of the Feng family in northern border city? The corner of Feng Wu's mouth twitched a little, but she still nodded. As in the useless Feng Wu, the former fiancé of Jun Linyuan? Feng Wu clenched her fists and nodded again. As in the fifth daughter of the Feng family, who was replaced by Zhu Qingwan. Blue veins popped on Feng Wu's forehead. Ha ha ha. So you're Feng Wu, the famous good-for-nothing. Feng Wu took a deep breath. Why had she even bothered to sympathize with Yuminji at all? She must have lost her mind. Turning away from Yuminji, Feng Wu stormed off. Hey, wait, Yuminji followed her in a hurry. Feng Wu went on walking angrily. Yuminji walked by her side and would cast a glance at her every now and then. It seemed that the pretty girl was really. Hey, Yuminji poked Feng Wu in the arm. Feng Wu ignored him. Are you angry? Like, really angry? Yuminji asked tentatively. Feng Wu kept on walking without any intention of slowing down. Of course she couldn't stop. The consequences would be unimaginable if Feng Sun caught her. Walking side by side with Feng Wu and seeing the stern look on her face, Yuminji mumbled, Hey, you're so narrow-minded. No wonder Jun Linyuan broke off the engagement. My goddess is really magnanimous. She'd never behave the way you're behaving now. Feng Wu smirked. Your goddess? What's your goddess called? That successfully silenced Yuminji. He said, she's, He was going to call her ugly girl, but after all the nice things he had said about her, ugly girl didn't feel like the right nickname. Hence, he replied, her surname is Feng and she's the fifth child in her family. So, she goes by the name Miss Five. Unlike you, she'd never give her maiden name to some random guy she meets on the street. Feng Wu took a deep breath and fought back her vexation. However, maybe that deep breath had triggered something, for Feng Wu felt the sensation of flatulence in her lower abdomen. Damn it! She was going to release gas again. Involuntarily, she looked up at Yuminji. Yuminji was bewildered. What? What did I do now? Biting her lower lip, Feng Wu looked conflicted. Was it possible that Yuminji wouldn't recognize the smell of immortal spiritual fruit if she released the gas here? She shook her head inwardly. That was very unlikely. So, what should she do now? Why are you holding your belly? Do you have a stomachache? Yu Minji looked at Feng Wu in confusion. Feng Wu didn't know what to tell him. Why are you still following me? Go find your goddess. Feng Wu glowered at him. I'm going home now. Get lost. That came out of nowhere and Yu Minji was offended. He snorted. Do you think I want to follow you around? If you didn't happen to have a similar aura and body shape as my goddess, I wouldn't look at you even if you begged me to. After that, Yu Minji turned and stormed off in the opposite direction. Feng Wu's eyes widened. That was easier than she had thought, and after she had racked her brain for a way to send him away. Seeing that Yu Minji had left, Feng Wu took a deep breath and rushed into an alley nearby. Just when she was finally going to let loose, she looked up and saw Yu Minji right in front of her. That was close. Chapter 121, Why was everyone in her way? Feng Wu's eyes popped out. Gritting her teeth and clenching her fists, she bellowed, I thought you left. Why are you still here? She was that close to exposing herself. Yu Minji's chiseled face was very grim as he stared at Feng Wu with a chilly look in his eyes and smirked. I'm not taking orders from you. Who are you to tell me what to do? Feng Wu was speechless. Why did she have to run into such a goofball? She really needed to go. Now. I'm begging you, okay? Master Yu, please stop following me, will you? No, please stop letting me follow you, alright? Feng Wu felt like crying. She walked out of the alley and was going to head in the opposite direction. However, she had barely taken one step when Yu Minji blocked her way again. Anger and resentment was written all over his impeccable face. His eyes were as hard as cold steel, but he looked equally aggrieved. Staring at Feng Wu, he asked in a quiet voice, Do you want to get away from me that badly? Feng Wu forced a smile. It's not that I want to, but I should. Your goddess may get the wrong idea if she sees us together. You don't want that, do you? Didn't you say that she's here in Northern Border City as well? Do you want to give her the wrong impression? Only then did Yu Minji realize that he had jumped into the pit he had dug himself. For some unknown reason, he just wanted to stay with Feng Wu, even if it was just to walk with her. However, he couldn't stop thinking about that ugly girl at the same time. It was so confusing. Feng Wu's face had turned blue and her eyes were bloodshot red from her desperate effort to control her bowels. She said hastily, You know what? I think I saw young Lord Feng and his people chasing someone on my way here. They kept mentioning this Feng Xiaowu and ugly girl and I think I heard frozen forest and immortal spiritual fruit, too. Do you think they're after your goddess? What? They found Feng Xiaowu. Where? That successfully distracted Yu Minji. Feng Wu gave him the wrong direction. Follow this street all the way down and you'll see young Lord Feng. Yu Minji disappeared into the distance as soon as Feng Wu finished her sentence. Finally. Feng Wu let out a breath of relief. Now was the time. But it definitely wasn't her lucky day today. Yu Minji had only just gone off when a taunting voice spoke behind her. Feng Wu, you piece of shit. Instead of staying at home, you're out here flirting with other men. Shame on you. It was Feng Lu, Feng Wu's cousin. Next to her stood Fairy Muyao. They saw Feng Wu talking to a pretty teenager just then, but because Yu Minji had his back to them, they hadn't made out his face. But what they saw was enough to frame Feng Wu. Feng Wu was going to fart when she turned around and saw the duo. Her face darkened. She didn't have time for these two, so she turned to leave right away. Both Feng Lu and Fairy Muyao found this a great opportunity. They had finally caught Feng Wu alone and they weren't going to let her leave just like that. They immediately blocked Feng Wu's way on both ends. With Feng Lu in front of her, Fairy Muyao behind her, the city wall on the left and the moat on her right. Feng Wu was cornered. You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.